Hi guys, can you hear me? I think I've got you guys on mute maybe. Let's turn this a little bit up. Can see Anastasia's joined on, Jennifer's on, Roger, Bal and Samith have joined on, got Kully on, Harpal, Shayna. Oh, this is great. Lovely to see you all jumping on. Raman's just come on as well. Hi guys. You can unmute yourselves to say hello whilst we're just getting everybody on.
Hi, Suman. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Roger.
Hi, everybody.
Anastasia, let's get you unmuted. Oh, I can't unmute you. Right. I'm going to start. Oh, it's already started recording. Great. So, welcome to the Success Mindset Summit, guys. Thank you so much for taking your time out to join us and join myself here today. You know, really appreciate it. It's really great to see you guys jumping on, and you will have an opportunity to interact with myself and the speakers as the event goes on. And at the end of each speaker slot, there will be a Q&A as well. So do listen in. If you're making notes and stuff, do make plenty of notes, because these guys are going to give you such a wealth of information and inspiration. So, you know, they're ready to rock this place. I'm ready to rock this place. So just to give you a quick heads up of the lineup. So it is, of course, myself. I'll start off and kick off with my talk around balancing your energy to be in alignment with your purpose as the Manifestation Maven. And then we're going to be followed by BAL HEER, and she's a serious business owner who's an estate agent, and we'll speak a little bit more about her journey. We've then got, after that, we got Deep Mataru. She's an addiction recovery coach, and she's been through a lot of ups and downs, and she's recovered from addiction herself. So she'll also be sharing her journey and talk a bit about her book as well. She's got some. She's a best-selling author, so her book reviews I've been reading are amazing. We then got Samith Malhotra. He's an executive coach in a corporate industry, and he has been helping people globally expand their careers and build up themselves through their mindset. And then, last but not least, we're going to have Shamoni Galani, who's absolutely a fire rocket. She's amazing. She's a queen of clarity, and she's been my clarity coach as well. And she's just brings a different, whole different energy to the ball game. So great lineup. I'm so excited to hear their stories, and like I said, I'll kick off with mine. So I'm going to go and see if I can share my screen with yourselves, and hopefully you guys can see this fine. Let me see. That's the one. Right, it's not letting me share it. It was letting me share it before. Oh, there you go. You guys can see that? Yep. Give me a thumbs up. Yep. Perfect. Right. There you go. So, balancing your energy to be in alignment with your true purpose. As you know, I'm SUMAN MANGHRA, and I am your Manifestation Maven. And what I have a background in, many of you do know this already, but for those of you who are first time tuning into me, I do have a master's in NLP practicing and hypnotherapy. I use timeline therapy as well as part of my techniques that I support people with. So a little bit about me as a Manifestation Maven. Where's this all come from? So about 12 years ago now is when I first was introduced to the law of attraction through The Secret, and there was a lot of ups and downs going in my life at that time, and through my journey, because I've got a background in psychology as well, so I did actually go to university and study psychology. I was always fascinated about the human mind and how the mind works, and how are people influenced, and why our behaviors are a certain way. Maybe we have habits and, you know, a certain mindset around things. Why is it the way it is? How can we change it and influence it to be better and to be positive? So along my journey, then I came across people who were known as life coaches. I thought, that sounds amazing. I'd like to know more about that. And then I got myself certified as a life coach. And around the same time, I started learning about the law of attraction. So as I've evolved over the years, and then I started doing my NLP studies and everything that I wanted to learn about hypnotherapy, I realized I can merge that all together and support people on the holistic side of it, in a holistic way, where we can really get into the subconscious mind, use the techniques of law of attraction, and also use the techniques of NLP and hypnotherapy to really help clear up people's energy blocks, mental blocks, and get yourselves going forwards with your goals and objectives. So that's a bit about me. Moving on. So my journey, I was miserable at that time from a breakup. I was also made redundant. So, you know, when they always say bad luck comes in like, what, threes, is it? So I had quite a few things going. I was like racked up in debt. I was, you know, broke up with the love of my life, who I thought was going to be my Prince Charming forever. And as time just went on, I lost my job as well. And I was just thinking, is this what my life was meant to be? So there was a time when I was passing opportunities by as well. And it's through this journey, as I started learning more about my inner resilience and keep fighting back, you know, life will try and knock you down. You've got to keep getting back up. You can't let life keep you down. If you be kept down, that's your choice. And I quickly learned, because as I was doing my life coaching, I actually had my own life coach at the time. And she really helped me open up my mind and my, you know, insight into myself, of where I was holding myself back and taking responsibility for where I was at. So it was about being responsible. And that's a big ethos of my life now. Be responsible for your results. Be responsible for where you are in your life right now. And when you start realizing the power's in your hands, you think, actually, I can change this. If I've made this happen so far, I can change what's going on. Or if I've made my success so far, I will continue to be successful because it's in my hands. So as I learned the stuff about law of attraction and my life coaching, both of those enabled me to get my breakthrough, and I started manifesting. So I found my job. So that's where Alan Sugar comes in. And then I got, you know, the job helped me build up all my finances, cleared my debts. And I found my amazing life partner as well. As many of you guys may know, got Rish here. You guys may know him as Rohan Rishi Manghra, my, you know, lovely partner, so supportive, so caring, so loving, and he just helps me blossom and be more of who I am, and I couldn't ask for somebody more perfect for myself. So that's my journey. So a little bit around manifestation. A lot of people think, what is this manifestation? I know some people have like a thought in their mind around manifestation being a bit spiritual. Is it a little bit of a spiritual mumbo jumbo? Is it woohoo? So I just thought I'd do a little slot on demystifying what it is. So it's working with nature's law of attraction, or what I actually like to call, and Bob Proctor calls from The Secret, the law of vibration. It's all about how we energetically are vibrating. It's about the universe working in tune with your inner frequency. So if you think about a radio program, and you know, you want to get the clear dial, and sometimes it's a bit fuzzy, so you're there and you switch the dial. When you're on that right frequency and the right, you know, vibration, that's when you get that clear tuning. And this is what I like to do with people, with the work that I do. I like to tune you into that frequency of yours, where you're going to get the maximum results. It's also your thoughts and your actions being in alignment, so being congruent with what you're about. So if you're thinking, sometimes where people have an imbalance is if you're thinking one thing, you're feeling something else, and then you're doing something else, it's all out of alignment. So there won't be a flow going in your life, and that can really suppress your creative flow. It's also about it works most effectively when your subconscious mind and energy is free and clear of blockages. So some people sometimes think it's all about just having positive mindset and thinking positively. But sometimes if you're talking now saying money comes to me easily, money comes to me easily, but deep rooted in your subconscious mind as you was growing up, in your environment or your culture, it might be that your parents used to always say around you, oh, money doesn't grow on trees, it's not easy to get money, you know, we haven't got a money pot in the backyard. These types of things, there may be deep rooted things that are still holding you back and holding you down in regards to your inner subconscious mind belief that money doesn't come easily. So if you're just saying it on the top, it's a bit like, it's not getting to the root. It's a bit like throwing water on a fertile ground, but it's not enough water to get to the deep root to actually nourish the roots, so to speak. So this is where the hypnotherapy comes into it, and the timeline therapy, because it helps really get into that, you know, inner subconscious mind of ours, where we might have these deep-rooted things that we keep thinking aren't there and we don't realize are there, because we don't always know what we don't know. And also with manifestation, you can't be judgmental with it. If there's any judgment in your energy, that will bring your manifestations crashing down as well. So what it is not. So it's not magic, even though when you get certain results and certain things happen how you wanted, it feels like magic, but it's just the nature working in flow. It's like a stream when it just naturally flows. It's just nature working how it should be. It's not positive or wishful thinking, like I've just touched on. There's an element of that that does help, but that alone won't get you the results. And it's not simply wanting things neither. Sometimes we don't always realize, you know, whether you hear the term, be careful what you wish for. There's times when you could be going there and thinking you want a certain thing, and then you go for it and then you achieve it and you get it and you're like, actually, this isn't what I was thinking, and it's not up to what I thought. So, you know, it's not just about what you want. It's about really things coming to you, what you actually need. So sometimes the law of attraction is working and things are happening what you don't want. And you might think, why is this happening to me? But in hindsight, afterwards, you're like, actually, looking back, I'm so grateful that happened. And that's where God is looking after you, or if you want to call it the universe is looking after you, and things are happening how they need to happen. It's also not having the world at your command, because there'll be other people's law of attraction and their energies and vibrancies that are creating things for them. So it's the universe working in flow for everyone and every living being. And it's not that you're not going to ever experience any bad things again in your life, because bad experiences and negative things, again, they're just labels that we're putting on things. Things aren't necessarily negative or bad. We label them as bad because of, again, culturally, what we've been told to believe, what we've been made to believe, that this is a wrong thing, that's a bad thing. Examples I'll give you: when somebody goes through a breakup or a divorce, you know, it's labeled as, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that. When I was recently made redundant, it was, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I was like, no, it's the most amazing thing that's happened, because it's exactly what needed to happen right now for me to start doing my business full time. So it's how we look at things and how we label things. But difficult things will still happen in our lives. For example, I've still suffered loss in my life. You know, I've had one of my cousins passed away last year. It was such a devastating time for us. But through these times, when you've built up your mindset and you build up your resilience, you can cope with things a lot better and you can deal with situations differently. And it's all about how we respond and react to things that will actually give us that, you know, reflection of where we're at and what results we actually get as an outcome on the back of that. And again, it's not about never ever feeling any negative emotions. Again, we're human beings. We're meant to feel down at times. We're meant to feel a bit off at times. It's part of who we are. But it's about recognizing it and having that increased emotional intelligence about managing your emotions a lot better and being able to spring back, so to speak. I think the biggest thing I've learned is, if you're going through a bad patch, there's this thing called a pity party. Don't stay there. Have a little pity party. Reflect on it. Acknowledge those feelings and thoughts, but then make sure you get yourself back up. It's up to you to, you know, if you physically think about it, physical metaphor, this is, you fall on the ground, you get your hands and you push yourself back up, right? So you have to get that energy and push yourself back out of that hole to keep yourself above it and get yourself back on track with yourself. So it's not about that you're not going to have down moments. I mean, the first week of this whole lockdown stuff that's been going on, I went through a lot in my mind about where am I going to go now. My event's being cancelled. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with my business stuff. I joined a business networking group with the BNI in Birmingham, and I thought, oh, this is a very interesting time to join, because it's all about face-to-face networking, and all of a sudden it's all changed. But it's about adapting and realizing that you can still make the most of a situation and work with the resources that you have. But, you know, you will still have your ups and downs, and that's part of life. So how do you balance your energy? So you need to be absolutely clear on what you want. Are you absolutely clear in what it is you want? This also links into my manifestation matrix that I use with my clients as well. The first element is always getting true clearing and clarity on what is it that your objective and your goal is. What is it you want to achieve? What does it actually look like? How will your life look like when you have it? What is going to be different? Think about in your life, are you a giver or a taker? You know, mostly we're a bit of both, and we should be a bit of both. But I've come across people in my life, and I always give the example of my dad being very a specific person that used to be like this. He's not as much anymore, but growing up, I've seen him being a lot of a giver. He gave a lot to a lot of people. If somebody needed money, he'd help them. Random people in the street asking for help, he would help them. You know, if his relatives used to reach out to him saying, can you come and fix this at the house? Can you come and do the flooring? Can you come do window? My dad was very good with DIY. So he'd always be forever doing things for others. And then when he needed help, I'd be like, Dad, where are these guys? Why aren't family members helping you? He's like, I don't want their help. I don't need anybody's help. I'm very self-sufficient. And there's a little bit of pride and ego in that, I feel, because I've been like that myself in the past. I think I still have a little bit of it in me, because I just want to be able to be a one-man army and do everything myself. But we don't realize that we need to allow people to give something back to us. We need to have that full circle where we want to give people and we want to generate that karma for ourselves. Allow other people to generate karma for themselves and help them. You know, it's all about having that full cycle. If you're doing for others, let people do for you too. And that's how you get more flow and energy. Going to the next bit. So are you open to receive what the universe is sending your way? You know, I had a ex-colleague of mine who had been single for a long time, and there was somebody else who was showing her a prospective person who she could get to know, and she was hesitant to get to know them. She's like, no, no, no. I said, what's wrong? What's the issue? And she's like, no, I've got issues with that person. Because of an issue with that person, she didn't want to open herself up to the possibility that this person that they're introducing to her could be the right person for her. So what opportunities might you be missing by being this way and not realizing that you're actually blocking things coming your way? You know, there's that saying as well where I remember I went to a church meeting once, and the pastor gave a sermon, and he said about there was these people who were like there was a flood happening, and they climbed to their rooftop, and they like worried about this flood taking them away, but they're like, God will save me. And these people came on these rafts saying, come with us, we're going to help you. They're like, no, 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 God will help us, God will help me. Then the firefighters came, and these airplanes came. They're like, look, let us take you, we will help you. And in the end, they ended up drowning. And then they got to the gates of heaven, and they said, God, why did you not help us? And he was like, I sent you all the help, you didn't take the help. So think about that. You know, what help is maybe coming your way, or solutions are coming your way, and you might not be noticing them because of being in a certain mindset. You know, always reflect on where you're at and opportunities that are coming your way that might be just the stepping stone you need to get to the next stage. Are you subconsciously turning down opportunities? So again, it might even be you're not even realizing that your energy is blocking it. Like, you may have seen in the workplaces sometimes people who can be a bit passive aggressive, and they have like a lot on their mind, or they're not happy with the workplace, but they're going around and they're not necessarily saying anything, but they could just be like facial expressions, a bit of like slamming the mouse or slamming the keyboard as they're typing. People then fear to come towards you with an opportunity because you're not approachable, and you might not be realizing who are you pushing away by being this way. And are you constantly complaining or gossiping? Whatever you talk about the most and whatever you're going on and on about, that becomes part of who you are and your energy and your makeup, and that will attract more of that in your life. So if you're talking about you know, amazing things, important things, you know, successful stuff like I like to talk about, you will see more success in your life because you're talking about those things. But if you keep constantly going on about things at work, maybe this so and so's upsetting me, this manager doesn't work very well, you're going to see more of that manager not doing very well, and then you're going to be more and more annoyed. So think about where are these patterns that you can start unwiring and reversing. So I won't go on about any special offers for this one. That's my talk done. So I want to open it up to you guys if you've got any questions and thoughts for me. There is an option as well in the chat where you can actually raise your hand, or you can comment in the chat box, and I'm just getting my head around being able to see that. So if you have been sending me messages, let me have a quick look. There has been a chat going. Right. Oh, brilliant. So for some reason, why can't I see the full screen? There you go. So Roger's saying it's all about supporting each other. I don't know if I'm reading the right way around. Anastasia saying great topic. Nadia saying great meeting. Thank you. Cool. So any questions for me? And feel free to unmute yourselves if you'd like to ask me anything. Come on, I'm sure you must have some burning questions.
SUMAN, I just want to say congratulations to you for finding a different way to do it rather than cancelling this and still going ahead and doing it. So well done for that.
Thank you, Roger. And Roger himself is doing some amazing things. You've got your whole story about your resilience. You know, why don't you tell the group whilst you've got an opportunity about what you do? Roger's got an amazing story, by the way, guys. And also similar to Shimoni, we'll be touching on it later as well, about you dealt with isolation in your life as well, haven't you, at one point?
Yes, to be quite honest, SUMAN, that it feels so different this time round, and I don't mind admitting I had some concerns because I did have a feeling I'd be back there again.
Yep.
I will keep it very short because I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, no, I don't want to take time away from speakers, because being a speaker,
How it is.
same school as yourself, we never ever say no to stage time. So,
Yes.
long story short, 2013, I'd been a pub landlord for 13 years, took my dog for a walk at the end of the night. It was a life-changing walk that I never realised was coming. Basically, as we got back towards the pub that we ran and lived in, there were 3 people waiting for me on a street corner in masks and balaclavas with fence posts and baseball bats, and beat me within an inch of my life, leaving me to bleed out in the road. Moving forward to A&E, once the effects of the ketamine had worn off, I overheard the trauma consultant tell my wife Claire that I probably wasn't going to live through the night, and if I did, I would never walk again, even aided, and I'd be with them for months. And at that point, I guess resilience mindset was setting in even then, at which point I heard that and thought, I'll show you. And from there, yes, I did spend 3.5 months in hospital, most of that in isolation, as on top of everything else I was dealing with. I managed to go and contract myself MRSA, yay me. And then a long time
one thing after another, hey.
After that, so I was very isolated. But back then, I didn't have the positive mindset I have now. I didn't have any access to personal development. I didn't even have access to Wi-Fi or data on my phone because it was an isolated room underground I was in.
And
so
how grateful you must be thinking now in reflection to how that was, and how, like you said, it's different now, this isolation.
Absolutely. Looking at the technology we've got now, where we can all meet from around the country, if not around the world. I don't know where people are geographically located on this call at the moment, but to think we've got that available to us. There are people doing online quizzes for a bit of light relief. There are people attending events like this that maybe geographically they wouldn't have been able to otherwise. I just think we should be so grateful and have such gratitude that this is happening to us now and not back in 1984, which I think would have been a very different story then.
Yeah. Bless you. Thank you for that, Roger. So if there's no other questions, don't forget, you will have time to ask questions at the end as well. So if you do think of anything else later, there'll be time. And just pop your questions as well at the side. So if I have a chance to read through it, as long as I don't miss it, I will definitely try and reach out. Those of you who have got my messaging as well, like you've got me on WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, can drop me a message on there. As the other speakers are speaking, I'll glance at it. I don't want to take away from not learning from our speakers, but I can have a quick look on there if you do have any other thoughts for me, if you need to. Okay, so moving on to BAL HEER. So as I said, she's a serious business owner. She owns more than one business now. I've known her for many years, and she's just such an amazing woman. There's so much I've learned from her, and there's so much I'm continuously learning from her as I see her journey, and I'm just seeing her grow and blossom, and it's just amazing to see. So she's an estate agent. She's a director of regional homes, and she specializes in rentals and lettings. And I will let her introduce herself a bit more with regards to more of what she does and what she's about. But to start with, Bal, if you would like to tell us, what is your take on mindset? What does mindset mean to you? What's your perspective?
My take on mindset, it's a very simple saying that probably many people have heard before, which is mind over matter. That's what it's about. You know, if you're thinking it, whatever you're thinking, that's basically, it's as you alluded to in your presentation, what what you're thinking about is technically what you're going to achieve. So if it's negative, if it's negative thoughts, that's what technically you're going to be achieving. If it's positive, then that's the outcome that you can have a look at sort of achieving there. So yeah, I'll get more into that when I'm obviously
into the meaty part of
talking,
your
but
presentation.
yeah,
Go for
definitely. Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is BAL HEER. I am an estate agent. My company is Regional Homes. I also have a property maintenance company along with that. Well, I did up until last Wednesday, should I say, when we had to shut shutters and close down. For obviously, it's temporary. I can see that. But yeah, I specialise in lettings, full management services, and rent-to-rent investment properties. I am a serious businesswoman, and what I mean by that is it's not that I'm serious as a person, although some may agree or disagree, I don't know, but I'm very serious about what I want in life and how I'm going to get there. So there's always a plan in the background that I'm performing to the best that I possibly can. A bit about my background, I've grown up you know, in family businesses. My father's always had businesses, and I've grown up sort of helping him run those, call it a typically Asian thing. But I'm thankful of that today, I've got to say, because it's definitely helped me get to that journey, go through that journey and where I am today. I formerly also used to work for West Midlands Police, and that's definitely given some great grounding to my life and the way I look at things, and how I'd probably deal with, you know, different scenarios and situations. And I've got to say, in my younger days, I was probably very much very quick to react first and think later. But ever since being with the police force, it taught me so much, and to change that sort of that way of doing things, and more so to think before we react. You know, and again, use sort of communication to the best, you know, to the best that we possibly can. That works in our favour. Also, former sales and marketing as well. So yes, I used to do the whole knocking the door. Used to sell gas and electricity. Fun times, I must say. You know, literally had to go through all weather conditions. It didn't matter. Our bosses, our managers wanted us to knock those doors and get those sales. Which I did actually quite successfully, to the point that I was then promoted into management myself. And I actually took a failing office and turned that around within 1 year to be the leading office throughout the whole country. We had about 17 offices throughout the whole country. And again, I guess that's where that sort of serious businesswoman, you know, appears again, because, you know, when I'm set a challenge, I love challenges, because at the end of the day, it shows me what I'm capable of. You know, I'm learning every day of my capabilities through these challenges. I won't look at something as in, you know, a negative. I'll always see it in a positive light. Believe it or not, people, you know, that know me, or people that approach me, they see me as this confident, you know, strong character. And to an extent, yes. But the truth be known, that I'm absolutely petrified just doing this talk, you know. So it's the weirdest things that sort of, you know, I fear compared to somebody else's fears. You know, something that's probably known to be more fearful to others won't be so fearful to me. And as simple as sort of giving a live talk like this is, oh my God, I'm trembling literally as we speak. You know, but again, it's a challenge, and it's bringing myself out of those comfort zones, you know. But yeah, moving on from the sales and marketing, I used to then work for an estate agency, and you know, they say that people only leave for certain reasons, and one of those reasons is whether you're happy with the people that you're working with, you know, and also whether you feel that you're being appreciated for what you're actually giving back to the company that you work for. Well, I didn't feel that I was being appreciated for what I was giving to the company that I used to work for. And I think it just came to a point where I thought, no, I had to remember my self-worth. I had to remember my self-respect, you know, and as much as at the time I was very, very, you know, needy for that wage, you know, paying the bills, making sure we had food on the table, you know, all those responsibilities that I'm sure, you know, we all have anyway. Others might have thought, well, you know, that definitely wasn't the time to sort of, you know, pack your bags and leave. But again, you know, I am, and again, to anybody that knows me, you know, self-respect is a big thing. So I decided to leave, started crying on the phone to my husband, going, oh my God, I've just left, I've you know, just packed it all in, but I just couldn't take it anymore. And within, you know, a week, I'd say I'd registered, you know, my own company as an estate agent. After all, I knew what I was doing, through the push from my husband to say, well, look, you've been doing it for somebody else for so long, why not just do it for yourself? And I guess it was one of those, you know, when you dive into the deep end and you just have to learn how to swim. So Regional Homes was formed back in 2014. I'm hoping it's going to still continue to go a very long way after this whole traumatic, you know, period is over and done with. I'm actually very much looking forward to get back to work, actually. It's funny, you know, they say, be careful what you wish for. And the amount of times I was thinking to myself and saying, you know, oh God, if I could just stay at home, why do I need to go into work? And, you know, oh, I'm really tired, I'm exhausted, you know, and lo and behold, that's what we're forced to do now. That's exactly what we have to do now, you know, sit at home and, you know, learn what family really is, you know, learn the true meaning, you know, of people, and remember the values that we grew up with, that maybe some of us, you know, not intentionally, but are failing to feed that down to the next generation as well. So, yeah, you know, having my own business, all of this, you know, only happened because, as I said, there was a plan in place. You know, there was a strong mindset. If there's one thing that I know is that, you know, I know they say the brain is one of the most, you know, really important, you know, parts of our body. You know, at the end of the day, you know, if that's gone, we're gone. And I have a strong mind. I know that. If I want something, I understand a plan has to be put in place. Yeah, you've got to, that's the only homework you need to do. Okay, to get to where you want to get to, you've got to create a plan. You know, if it means you've got to go and find out, you know, Google or whatever it might be, you know, speak to peers, you know, that you look up to, speak to people around you. You've got to be able to make sure that you have that plan in place. It doesn't just happen at the click of, you know, your fingers. You know, you cannot just magic that up. Okay, a lot of work is going to be involved, but it's also as well about being really prepared, because a lot of people are very unprepared of the biggest thing that's entailed, which is hard work. You know, I'm sure we've all heard things don't, you know, things aren't happen, you know, things aren't given on a silver plate as such. You know, nothing is just given on a silver plate. And I'm very much prepared to know, I understand that, you know, I'll never, ever have anything given to me easy. You know, it's sod's law that every time I want something, I know I've got to work 10 times harder than somebody else. But that's just the way it is. And that's what I've prepared myself for in life, in understanding, do you know what, Val? You do know you're probably going to have to work harder than your next door neighbour, you know, for the same thing. If I want to go and get a loaf of bread, I'm probably going to have to go around, you know, aisles 3 times before I get my loaf of bread before my next door neighbour. But as I said, it's sod's law. But it's something that I'm prepared to do. If you're going to make excuses, that's exactly what you're going to be getting. Nothing, just an excuse. And you're going to give yourself an excuse after excuse after excuse. You know, I say, if you believe it can happen, when people say, when there's a will, there's a way, you must have that will first initially, you know, in order to be able to find that way. You know, there was a point where I totally lost, you know, the key ingredients, should I say, into forming a successful business. And that was self-belief, that was definitely obviously hope, and determination as well. You know, you need those three, you know, really important ingredients in order to be successful in business, you know, and successful within your own personal lives as well. Because if you don't believe it's going to happen, guess what? It won't. It's just not going to happen unless you want it to happen, unless you really want something to happen. You know, there are people that I know that will say, oh, you know, you're really lucky. You've got businesses, you drive a nice car. I am not lucky. I am far from lucky. I just chose to work really hard. That's all, you know. And, you know, it might sound a little bit harsh, but, you know, there are people, you know, that aren't prepared to do that. They're too lazy. The idea of hard work, okay, is what puts them off. Whereas then for myself, you know, I'm on a journey. I know where I want to be in so many years' time. You know, I know how I'm going to get there. And like I said, the biggest thing that just comes up in front of me in my mind 24/7 is hard work. So I don't complain about it. I don't moan about it. I just get on with it. Yeah. As Suman was alluding to earlier on, when she said, you know, that people will moan and, you know, sit around and gossip and so forth as well. I can't handle that. I really can't. I'm all up for listening to, you know, and being that shoulder for somebody to cry on, as long as they don't constantly want to cry about the same thing. Yeah. We all are human. We all need to get it out of our chest and, you know, get it off our shoulders. But then I'm expecting, and as a friend, I would obviously advise that as well. You know, I'm not shy of sort of, if somebody asks me my opinion, I'm going to give my honest opinion to that. I won't sugarcoat something because I know that's what the other person wants to hear. I'm going to tell you how it is, because that's what a good friend does. That's what a good coach does. You know, that's what a good employer does. You know, even the same with my team as well. You know, very much with them to the T. But they know if they're doing something, you know, and they're going along the wrong path, you know, I'm going to pull them up on it, and I'm going to say, hey, you know, you're straying away here, you know, unless that's what you're happy with and that's what you want, let me help you get back on track, because it's this way. You need to go this way, not that way, you know. But yeah, I've come from, you know, as I know we've heard from Ritu, you know, previously before as well, you know, people normally have the phrase of, you know, going from rags to riches. But mine's quite the opposite, because I've gone from riches to rags and finally got myself back to a very nice, comfortable point, should I say. It doesn't mean that I've got to where my ultimate goal is, but definitely, you know, growing up in such a comfortable environment that I guess when you lose everything, it definitely makes you appreciate things so much more. And it makes you think, you know, I think personally with myself, you know, I felt that it was just something that I had to get back. I had to do. You know, I didn't want my children to miss out on what I had growing up. Yeah, I didn't want them to miss out on a quality life that I had given to me, again, from the hard work, from the examples that were set to me. So, yeah, very much determined to sort of get back to my comfort zone. You know, I don't need to win the lottery. I don't need to have millions in the bank. You know, there are far more other things sort of more important to me. And I guess it is probably for most of us anyway, it's to have, you know, a solid roof over your head, you know, to make sure that you can provide and have good food and wear good clothes, you know, and that's basically what's the drive behind it, to be that provider, you know, to make sure that they don't go with anything less than what I had growing up. Fortunate to be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, I would just say again, you know, if there's an example that I want to set, it is to definitely condition that mind. It's what I had to do, you know, for my staff, my team, It's what I had to do when I was rolling out managers for the company that I previously used to work for in sales and marketing. And it was all about mental conditioning. And you can joke and call it brainwashing, you know, but I like the term of mental conditioning, because at the end of the day, like I said, you've got to truly believe you can. There was a point, you know, going back maybe I'd say at least 12 years now or so. In fact, no, probably more. It was about 14 years ago. I was at a point and all I kept doing was just finding somebody to blame. And the biggest person I used to blame, you know, and I'm not religious, but I do have faith. However, that was lost around 15 years ago, 14, 15 years ago. And I used to blame, you know, God, and I'd be sat there, and if anybody could watch me, if anybody could see me, you know, they'd probably think, has she gone crazy? You know, she gone mad, she's talking to herself. But it's all I could do. I used to just, you know, turn around and go, what have I done so wrong? And why is this happening to me? And, you know, and just totally placing blame on God, you could say, because I didn't feel it was justified. I didn't feel that I deserved it. And I guess looking back now, you know, I can only thank him, because he taught me to be strong by placing obstacles in my way, and by, you know, making life so difficult as it was back then. You know, I was forced to find solutions. I was forced to find the way forward. I was forced to strengthen my sort of mentality, you know, and heaven forbid, if I hadn't have gone through what I'd gone through in the past, I wouldn't be talking to you all right now. And that's the be all and end all of that, I'd have to say. So yeah, I'm very much thankful to where I've come from. And I see every failure that I've had in my life as a learning curve and a lesson that I've learned from. And if there's anything that I can say, you know, and I know obviously my time is up now as well, is if anybody's sort of thinking of jumping the fence from, say, I want to start a business, or I'm currently in a business at the moment, or you're worried about what this whole coronavirus, you know, situation is going to do to you, you know what I say? It's survival of the fittest. Those who are strong will survive. And I don't mean that you need to be strong physically. You need to remain strong mentally. And you need to tell yourself that this is temporary, okay? This isn't going to remain forever. It is a short-term blip. Be that 3 months, be that 6 months, howbeit a year. The point is, sooner or later, you're going to be able to get back and pursue your dreams in the way that you set out to do them initially. So look forward to that. See this as a holiday. And I know it's difficult. People are worried about financials and strains and what have you. But you know what? We're all in this together. So whatever you're worried about, I'm still worried about. Okay? And some way or another, together, this is what they mean by together we will get through this. Okay? And again, it's by tuning this up. It's fine-tuning your mentality to go, do you know what? I can't wait to get back out there. And business, for those business owners, you know, amongst this today, business is going to be booming more than ever. So look forward to it. And that's basically, I know my time is up. That's as much as what I can give you for now. So thank you.
That's brilliant. Round of applause from everybody. I'll give. Yeah, I always love hearing from you. Even when we all have our own chats, there's always so much, you know, that I'm learning. But definitely that was like really inspiring and really going into what you're about and where you've been and what you've seen, you know. And of course, being like ex-police officer, you've pretty much been and seen it all. And something funny I'll tell you guys, that's a link between me and BAL. I actually worked for the same door-to-door sales company, but many years like after BAL. So when I first met BAL, I was like, oh my God, I worked for them as well. And it was just like something that, you know, when you see those little coincidences with people that you meet. And yeah, I mean, I still remember that day when Bal knocked on my door. I was basically living next door to Bal when I was doing my master's at Aston Uni, and somebody just knocked on my door, and I still remember I was vacuuming, and I was like, who's knocking my door? I was such a, like, you know, I'm a social person, as you guys will know, but I was still like, who's knocking on my door? I wasn't expecting anybody, and she was just there with a pram with a man in it at that time, and he was just a little one, and she said, hi, I've moved in next door, I just thought I'd say hello. And I was like, what kind of neighbour is this, saying hello to her neighbours? But you know what, she's been like that from day one, and I'm so glad she knocked on my door, because look at where we are today. So thank you so much for that, Bal. Does anybody have any questions for Bal? So Suki said, hit the nail on the head, well done, Bal. Clap, clap, clap. And Roger has said, great content, beautifully delivered, Bal. And Shimoni's also saying that was awesome. And well done, Bal, as well. We've got from Deep and Sumit as well, saying amazing talk, great content. Yeah, brilliant.
It's amazing how fast 20 minutes go.
Oh, it does. Even when I was doing mine, I looked up and I was like, oh gosh, 20 minutes has already gone. But yeah, if anybody does want to unmute themselves and ask a question to either of us, you know, go for it. You know, you've got Bal here now, make the most of it. Bal here is here.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask?
Go for it.
It's Ash. So how are you guys finding the lockdown? What coping strategies have you implemented during the lockdown for yourself to maintain a positive mindset, and to, like Bal said, you have to stay strong mentally as well. So
really
what have you guys been doing?
Yeah,
Ash, can I just say, I have such a clean home. I've decluttered. You know, this Ash, to be fair, was, like I said, for me, you know, it's probably 50-50. For some of us, we're going to cope a lot better because life was going too fast in the first place, you know, probably affecting our health in a negative way because of all the demand of work, etc., you know, that we had to cope with there anyway. So for me personally, I'm actually really grateful and really thankful that we've been forced into this situation, not of the coronavirus, but you know what, that we can spend more time together as a family, do things. I have never ever previously had the radio on in my home, for goodness sakes, you know, and I've been loving it. Normally the radio is for the car ride, you know, wherever I'm going, but it feels good. It's taking me back to when I was growing up and, you know, having a laugh and joke with the kids. So I personally love it.
Do you know what? I totally agree with what Bal's saying, and I feel the same. It's interesting because I was catching up with my mum and dad the other day, and they were talking about this, and they keep saying it's nature. Nature has given a slap to the world. Is what they said. You know, a lot of people have been saying that.
I like that. I like that. What mum and dad said. That's all.
They said that Mother Nature is now thinking, you guys ain't listening to me, so this is going to happen now. Because a lot of people, and I've seen lots of posts, and you've probably all seen it all, I'm guessing, because if I've seen it, you guys would have. But all these posts around, we feel like we're on a naughty step. We're having chance to do self-reflection. Honestly, for me, putting together this event, things like this has been what's been occupying my mind, and how I can help people and serve people in different ways. Because all you have to do is adapt yourself and change and be flexible to what's going on. Because something like this is really a wake-up call for all of us, that anything can happen at any time. So be prepared and be ready, and when you're ready to deal with it, and the stronger and your mind comes and your resilience is, I'll be honest, a lot of people say to me, and I feel it, I don't think anything can really happen that phases me much now. And I say that very loosely, but I feel like if things happen, I feel like I'm ready to just be like, okay, what's my solution mindset? What can I do? Let's not worry about what I can't do. What can I do now? So for example, we can use online facilities. We can still communicate and contact people. You know, I can still use my social media to speak to people. And in that sense, it's really helped me self-reflect. And that what Bal touched on, the attitude of gratitude. What are you grateful for now? I'm so grateful that I've got a roof on my head. I'm so grateful that we've got, you know, Wi-Fi. I'm grateful I've got my connection of people around me and the loved ones in my life who are there, who are supporting me through this time in their own way. So yeah, that's what my tips are.
Thank you.
Cool. So Anastasia put her hand up. Anastasia, can we hear you?
Yeah. Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hello, darling.
Thank you so much to invite me here. First of all, I'm really grateful that you let me join this fantastic brainstorm group. I want a little bit say to according that what to do to overcome this situation. You are so lucky, everyone who's living in this country. You have families, you have relatives around you, and it's much easier in some sense to interact between you and feel support, even have a conversation in your own houses with your household, which is great, and that is most important. But to overcome this situation, you need to as well understand that all the routines which you had before need to be completely rescheduled, and you need to find a way for yourself which is just for yourself. And most important, this is early mornings to prepare yourself, your mindset actually for rest of the days. Doesn't matter what kind of situation you are front worker and going in NHS and do the great job, or you are in a situation where your job it's stopped and you need to be at home. To build up the routines around that situation where you are in it with a logical mind that can be for some time, it's not only for 2-3 weeks. And then build these routines which for first some kind of 2 weeks will be really challenging for everyone to understand what and how to do, but in the next 2-3 weeks time this became as a habit and will get much easier and better. But you really need to reassess the situation where you are, where you're in. You need to reassess your skills which you have and how to use this to support another as well. Because there are so many people which do not have many things which maybe you have. And I think that is most important. We need to reassess what we have and what we can give to others.
No, I totally agree with you. And I also feel like, you know what you just said, it's going to take a while for us to adjust and get a new routine now. But believe me when I say this, when we get a new routine, when we have to go back to the real world, we'll be finding it hard to adjust back to what we were always doing. So that's what will happen as well.
It's just question, there will be the same world, which I a little bit questioning. I think we need to prepare that. We need to now adjust the situation and think about how the world will be changed and how we can adapt to any situation which come across, because until next 18 months there will be definitely not the world what we know.
That's true.
I absolutely agree. Actually, sorry, Anna. Hi, Anna, by the way. I totally agree with you, Anna. And again, I think it's about preparing that mind, exactly what we were talking about before. When the government turned around and said, oh, you know, for the next 3 weeks or so, you know, I'm the kind of person that I do sort of like an ABCD kind of, I'll go through the whole alphabet if I need to, but there's a plan. So if the government's telling me 3 weeks, I'm going, well, what if it's 6 weeks? What if it's 6 months? What if it's a year? You know, so definitely, you know, still making sure that nothing hits me by a massive surprise, you know, because that's the biggest failure sometimes, in being naive and thinking, oh yeah, you know, everything's going to be okay. And yes, I'm sure it will be, but it's making sure you have that backup plan in case it isn't.
Yeah, no, I agree. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to move on to now, on to Deep Mataru. So what I've got for Deep, there's so much to say about this lady, and she's just so inspirational. So Deep Mataru is a best-selling author, speaker, and addiction recovery healer. She's a #1 best-selling author of her debut memoir book series, which is available on Amazon, A New York Kind of Love, a true story about cocaine addiction. So Deep helps people struggling with addiction, and she helps them get deeply connected with their soul's purpose. And what she helps them with is that they have a big enough reason to break free from their addiction long term to finally live a life full of meaning and fulfillment. So using energy medicine and receiving continuous guidance from God or source, she guides people to align with their true selves. So I won't give too much away now. I will let Deep, you know, give her own take on herself and what amazing things that she's doing now and supporting people. She's a key worker as well, by the way, guys. You know, as you know, our frontline people. So yes, virtual round of applause for Deep. So welcome, Deep, and thank you so much. Guys, just to give you a heads up, so Deep's not been feeling too well, yet she's still committed and came out to speak to us today. So I'm so privileged that you're able to share your story with us today. Over to you.
Thank you very, very much, guys. You're amazing, and thanks all for being here. It's such an amazing turnout, so I'm really grateful. As someone said, I am now a key worker by day. I work in addiction recovery non-stop. That's what I do. I've been off for the last 2 weeks with suspected symptoms of the we shall not name. Yeah. And
the Voldemort.
Right. But this is not what I've always done. So I'm going to share with you my true story to success. For me, what was true success and fulfillment. So,
and actually, I do want to ask you the question as well. What's your take on what mindset is, if you want to set the tone with that and then go into your story?
Set the tone on what mindset is. So in light of the coronavirus, in light of everything that's happening, my 3 top tips are always along the same sort of line. So one is just, and this is from those of you guys who are spiritual followers or follow Abraham Hicks or Gabby Bernstein and the likes. One is just choose a better feeling thought. So no matter what else that you're going through, we will always have those demons. We will always have those voices in the back of our head, or those other people or those energies that tell us that we are just not good enough, that we just don't have enough, we just aren't going to be enough. We just always compare ourselves. And the truth is that those demons are running the show. And I know that they run the show for me all the time. And I constantly sit myself down. I often pray or meditate, and I just choose to, I'll break out of that mindset, find a different alignment, a different vibration, a different way of thinking. So, and then that brings me to number 2, which is trust in your inner being to guide you. So whatever you believe that is, that thing inside of you, if it's your intuition, if it's your God, your source, your higher power, the universe, angels, spirit guides, like we all have something. And so something, people, it's just a niggle or a knowing. And just know that it's that inner being that's always guiding you to your highest and truest self. And that's what I truly believe. And that's what my story will show you, is always trust yourself and your inner being to guide you. Because maybe you've been going down this path all along, and actually the universe is shouting and saying, hang on a minute, this just wasn't working. Hang on a minute, global epidemic. We want you to know that this just isn't working. There's a better way. So you will always know yourself, like what that is. And I just always say, tune into that inner being, tune into that inner self, and just know yourself and your true aligned path. Because you are not Gabby Bernstein, you are not Tony Robbins, you are not meant to do the same thing that everybody else is doing, and you can expand the universe in different directions. So just know that you are going to carve your unique path. And the third one is everything you think you know about yourself and that you think you want, just completely surrender that vision up entirely. We get so caught up on, this is who I want to be. I want to be a famous writer. I want to be, you know, the best speaker. I want to be the best coach. I want to be up there with Tony Robbins. But actually, you may not know what your inner being, your path is guiding you to. And that comes back to the second point. But the point is just surrender your vision completely. And as, you know, Abraham Hicks would say, Gabby Bernstein, some of my favorite spiritual teachers, just focus on how you want to feel. Always focusing on how you want to feel. Like, do I want to feel fulfillment? Ask the universe for that. Bring me fulfillment. Show me what that feels like so I can get more of that. Do I want to feel more responsibility? Is that really what I'm after when I'm trying to get to that next level, that promotion or whatever that is? Is it responsibility that I want to feel? How do I feel more of that? Because when I feel more of that, I become aligned to more of that. And actually, sometimes we think we want something and the feeling of responsibility doesn't feel so great, actually. And maybe that's not really what you wanted. And then you might go down a different path. For me personally, I really shy away from responsibility. I prefer creativity. So me always trying to get ahead in my previous career was not really working for me. And I would self-sabotage every time I got a promotion, every time I got a new I would switch careers and I would go backwards. That's all that I do, because my heart, my soul is really aligned with creativity. So those are my 3 things. Choose a better feeling thought, trust your inner being to guide you, and completely surrender your vision and focus on how you want to feel. How's that? Okay, so
I've got myself muted, you see, so I was just listening to you, but perfect, spot on. And you know that self-sabotage thing that you mentioned, do you know what, have we not all been there? Or some of us are still doing it, but yeah. But I'll let you crack on and sprinkle your words of wisdom on us now, and your journey and your story.
Okay, so I'm going to take you back in time. I was 27 years old. I'm now 32, almost 33. So I was 27 years old, and I worked in a very corporate career, investment banking. Back then I was freelancing in the technology department, and I was on a 6-figure salary, and I'd finally made it. You know, my 10-year plan just arrived like that. Like, I had no idea that was going to happen. You know, my inner being knew more about me then than I knew about myself. There was no way I felt good enough for that. Yet here I was at age 26. I finally had everything that I felt I wanted. I had a boyfriend, I had, you know, a place in London, I had the career, and I just felt so unfulfilled, but I just didn't really know or understand why. I suddenly became felt more disconnected from people. I felt bored. I had nothing to reach for. And what happened next, over the next year, I hadn't really gained the awareness until recently, and I sabotaged that relationship. I tried to sabotage that career. And when I left that relationship, I felt very lonely and disconnected, because what happened when I reached all my goals was I realized who I had in my life. I realized, you know, who I had was not there. What I wanted wasn't really there. That feeling inside is the feeling that we're always seeking for, wasn't fulfilled. And I did not have this awareness at the time. And what happened at age 27, after I broke up with that boyfriend and still had this amazing career, and I was really unsure and unsettled about my life. I'd just been offered this great opportunity now to move to New York City. So everything was aligning in the way that it should be. Yet I was devastated inside. And on my 27th birthday party, I felt so alone when no one showed up. I felt so disconnected. My friends weren't there. I'm sure that they loved me, but they just weren't there. Something just didn't feel right. My family connections were all over the place. I didn't feel they were there for me. And I tried a serious attempt to take my own life. Now that, to everyone, is the picture of success, right? It's having everything, the money, the career, the goals, New York. And that's how everybody viewed my life. So I went on in my life, and I felt deep shame constantly for feeling this way, for feeling like I had everything and I had no reason to complain, and never really knowing, you know, why I felt this void inside of me, you know, who I was becoming. And in that moment, I just completely lost faith, lost trust. And I started down a very different path. I started taking drugs. I'd never taken drugs. I started to move to cocaine. And when my life and my career was at its highest point, I felt that I couldn't cope. So there I was, now moved to New York, in a New York apartment in Chelsea, earning 6 figures plus, in the best apartment that I could afford, you know, looking out the whole city of New York. I had wonderful friends. I had a Chanel purse. I had all these designer things. And yet there was still that void. And that void that I was filling constantly every day with cocaine, all morning, all night. I couldn't stop. And one thing just moved to another, to another, to another, to another. And the truth of it was, now if I was to look back at my life, it all becomes really clear. But for some reason, when you're in it, it's just not really that obvious. But what actually my body was showing me, my saboteur was showing me throughout different points in my life, were these unconscious voids that I was just not able to fill, that I was running away from. And what I want to share with you is just for you to think about those unconscious voids that you're trying to fill, because addiction doesn't have to be as, you know, gruesome as me, you know, taking drugs or prescriptions every day, all day, every day. It could be you are drinking lots of coffee. Perhaps you have a regular glass of wine every day, every night. Perhaps it's food, perhaps it's sugar. Perhaps there's just this constant feeling of anxiety throughout your life that you don't know why, and this void that you're just constantly trying to fill. And for me, that unconscious void was speaking to me so much. The universe was speaking to me so much to try to tell me, look, there is something wrong here, and you are self-sabotaging absolutely everything in order to reach your goals. But actually, there's another way. And I started to notice these patterns over time, you know, this loneliness, this feeling of not being able to cope, this feeling that I was in the wrong job all the time. And this was really what I was focusing on. And there came a turning point in my life, as many people have, you know, a point when I finally said, that's it, I give up. You know, I'd reached the peak of my career almost. I had everything, but I was deeply alone. I was taking prescription drugs nonstop. I was having accidental overdoses. Not everybody gets to this point, but I had. And I was sitting there in my New York apartment, and I just literally surrendered and prayed to God, and I didn't even believe in anything or anyone, and just said, I really need help. I really need help. And I was just ready to give up. And for most addicts, known or unknown, most people don't know that they're addicts. I definitely did not. It took me about a year after to actually acknowledge that title. I actually said, enough is enough, and I'm actually ready to stop. Please help me. And that for me was when I had what many people call like a spiritual awakening, or a true alignment with yourself, a realignment with your true purpose, whatever you feel that is to you. For me, it was definitely a realignment with myself on my true purpose. And what that brought me was some real, true spiritual guidance. I started to notice signs. I started to notice people. I started to get a feeling that something wasn't right. And very soon after that, I quit my job, and it was the best thing that I ever did. And I quit my job in this peak of my career, and followed that voice of my inner being all the way back home to England, to London, to Kent, and completely started over. And I'm not going to tell you that everything's going to be perfect, because nothing ever is. This isn't a fairy tale story where suddenly you break free from all your addictions like I did, and you completely change your life and then it's easy. It's never that. But the idea is that I was realigned with my true self. And once I was able to release myself from all those addictions, I was then led by spirit, by my guidance, to find actually the true cause of all of my addictions, and actually the true cause to all of my suffering. And that is what I bring to people in my course or in my group teaching, is really showing you and empowering you to understand that there is this unconscious void inside nearly all of us that starts off in the womb. I mean, we wouldn't be here if we weren't here to create, if we weren't here to need, if we weren't here to seek things to bring us joy. However, sometimes it's just acknowledging the fact that it's just the feeling that we're after, and asking ourselves, you know, when did I first feel that way, that I didn't feel loved, or like I belonged, that I wasn't in the right career? Like, when did that void first appear? And for most of us, that does appear very early on. So you may know Gabor Mate if you follow addictions closely at all. I'm sure there'll be some people on this call who are really going to resonate with this, and some people who maybe not. But there is a point of time in the womb, really early on in the womb, where we form our decisions about our whole life and the whole world. And in that moment, you know, for me personally, I don't blame my mom or shame her in any way, but she was going through a lot, and she felt very disconnected. She went through postnatal depression. I was born a girl. That was the worst thing you could imagine in an Asian family, you know, a second girl. I was practically cremated already, you know, it wasn't a really good time for either of us. And using some of my healing modalities, I went back to that point in time. I visited that point in time when I was in the womb with my mum. And I saw and I felt how she felt like she didn't belong. And guess what? That transferred onto me. And I felt the energy for the rest of my life that I didn't belong. And it's still something that I'm working on, you know. So that unconscious wound, that decision that I made in the womb that early on, affected every decision throughout my life. Anytime I would meet someone, anytime I get in a relationship, I decide, oh my gosh, this person doesn't want me. I don't belong. I'm just disgusting. I'm ugly. I'm unattractive. I'm this. All these things will happen. The same with my career. Oh my gosh, I can't speak on this event. I'm not good enough. You know, people won't like me. They're going to judge me. You know, I just don't belong. It always comes back to that same unconscious wound. So this is what I'll bring to you through my program. And just here as well, I just want to share with you, just to reflect on some of those unconscious wounds that have started since birth, that you're still carrying with you. So just know that that's not the voice of you. That's not the voice of the adult you, the adult shamanic, SUMAN, Faiz, Bal, everyone else, Sumi, is the voice of that 5-year-old girl, that 3-year-old girl, that 1-year-old girl who just did not receive the love in the way that she or he needed to. And those decisions that we make in that moment, you can release those at any point in time. And I just want to share with you one way that you can do that is, given that we're in success mindset, is just to feel into your body. You can just close your eyes and just, whenever you're feeling like you're not good enough or something else comes up, just ask yourself, what age of me feels this way? You know, when did I first feel this way? And if you do some deep breathing, you can take yourself into a theta or meditative state, and you can just see and experience that first memory that you made. For me, it goes back quite far to the womb, or usually it's between age 0 to 7. And just release that. Just release that. Just see that memory and just remember that you are good enough. Forgive your parents, forgive those who wronged you and everybody else, and move on from that. And that's really the idea, to break it down really, really simply. And the next step is obviously creating, you know, that new, beautiful and purposeful life that you really, really want. Because if you have an addiction, and even if you don't, even if it's something like an addictive personality, that's really what I say. If you know that there's something that's stopping you from making that sales call, getting on the phone, you know that there's some unconscious belief here that you are not good enough, that you can't cope, so that you can focus on that and ask for new ways to feel. Choose that better feeling thought. Trust in your inner being to guide you. Focus on how you want to feel and start realigning yourself to your true purpose. And that is the ethos of addiction recovery, is really to help those of you, anyone who is struggling with any form of addiction or addictive personality, is we release all those old emotional wounds and traumas, and we start moving you towards creating that new story, that new life, that new purpose. That's
Brilliant.
all for me.
That's fantastic. You know, so I actually was getting quite emotional in the middle of listening to that, because quite a bit of the things that you're talking about I really resonate with. And it's interesting, even in the work that I do with the NLP and the timeline therapy, I think you and me, when we spoke about this before, it's very like, it overlaps with that whole going to a very young age. When, and again, when I've done psychology, they say a lot of things that impress upon us, because when we're just that age, we're like big massive sponges. So and everything that's going on around us, in our environment, in our families and our parents, we're absorbing everything, because we don't even know what's the difference between what. So all these things are impacting us from day one. But with timeline therapy, we actually can go even further with that. With some people, they might have deep-rooted beliefs that there's something that's before. If people believe in like past life, there could be something that's from a past life being carried on. I remember once speaking to a clairvoyant, and they talked to me about karmic debt I've got from a previous life that was affecting me, apparently, which I never rule anything out. I never say anything is definite, and I'll never say something's definitely not. But and with some people as well, it could be generational. So within your family history, some people talk about it. So it's really interesting how there might be things that are impacting us, like you said, the decisions we might be making from day one, and it's because of stuff that's been going on from something as really, you know, something like that from the womb of our mums. There was also, when I was doing my NLP, I remember a story was shared about somebody who, they were having issues with their money blocking and their abundance thinking, and when they did timeline therapy, they went back to being in the womb as well. And in the womb, apparently something had happened, some conversation had happened between his parents, and that was affecting him. So he spoke to his mum about it, and he's like, "Mum, apparently there might be something going on. What was happening when you lot were pregnant with me?" And she said, "Oh my God, we had such financial difficulties. We were struggling to pay the rent, and we were constantly arguing about money."
Wow.
So really, really, yeah, really. And you know what you also said about how you're still working on it? There are certain things I'm still working on, and I totally get what you're saying. It's a constant journey, and with constant evolution, constant learning, we got to keep working on ourselves. I always compare it to like training a muscle, like in the gym. We're not going to just, you know, go to the gym once, pick up the dumbbells, and that's it. We've got these massive muscles. We've got to go daily. We've got to go regularly. We've got to build that muscle and keep it maintained. So this mindset stuff that we work on ourselves, that we're constantly working on, we have to, you know, continuously do it as a training almost. Would you agree?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, and for me, really, is trusting your inner being to guide you, or your inner being, God, source, angels, and like, I don't know how much you'll resonate with that, but literally, it's been a godsend for me, because I had zero self-worth and belief in myself to write a book, and it really was the guidance from within. I'll show you my book, you know, and it wasn't the best book. I hyperventilated for several days when I pressed publish, because it's so raw and honest, and it really tells the true story. You know, it was my first showcase to the world of the secret life I'd been living, to all my friends and family. Hey, guess what I've been doing in New York all this time? Taking drugs.
And I can imagine that's such a vulnerable place to put yourself in, like to share those things when you know. Oh, that's what I always thought whenever I thought I want to share my feelings and thoughts, and oh my God, my mum might read this, or if I talk about something somewhere, my dad's going to hear it. And you know, when you mature from that and you realize, you know what, most they'll do is learn from it. There'll be something insightful for them as well, but it can be daunting, can be very daunting, especially what you've been through. When I was reading the reviews online about your book as well, that's what everybody was saying, that it's so raw, it's so real. Some of the conversation that we've had as well, Deep, just to let you know. Baba Malik has said, well done, Deep. I resonated with most of the stuff you said. Can I ask you, how do you cope with your inability of getting everything done on time and not be late all the time?
This is such a good question, and such a good question, because for me in the past and even recently, this is probably why I use cocaine and coffee and stimulants, because I needed to be the best. I needed to be perfect. I needed to get everything done, all the time. And that meant that I compromised my health, right? So that's when you get success and fulfillment, 6-figure salary, constantly trying to reach for all the targets, try to kill yourself, right? Or find a very, very dangerous drug that almost kills you, versus actually coming into true alignment with yourself and knowing that you are not going to get everything done, okay? And some things are going to slide, but if you really get into true alignment with yourself, and if you don't meditate, I'm going to find your name, Baba, or find connection with your inner being. Like, I'm going to just say this nonstop, because that has really been the godsend. If I will know, even with today, I will know what feels right and doesn't feel right, because my intuition, my guidance, my knowing will just guide me and say, actually, Deep. And I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs can resonate with this, but I will get a knowing or a sense or a signal, actually, don't follow up with this person today. Just trust me on this. I even got one, don't go into work today. And I didn't listen to that one. And something really horrendous happened. And it was really awful, probably the worst thing that could ever have happened. And I could see why I got that guidance that morning. And I really trust.
Now that you're saying that as well, there's so many times I felt it. There's been times when I've done stuff, or that I felt at the time I shouldn't do it, or there was some inner voice that I kind of suppressed and went with it. And then I'll be like, you know, when we always say to ourselves, I knew I shouldn't have done that, or I knew I should have just gone with what I was feeling, my gut instinct. Bal talks about this a lot as well, about gut instinct and following your gut. I was just going to say, Asmia has said as well, thank you, Deep, for sharing your story. Rish has said, great talk, Deep, very inspiring. And Sumit has also said, inspirational story, Deep. And Rish is also saying, very much enjoying the talk, so keep it up. And Roman has said, well done, Deep, for bringing yourself through such a tough situation. Sumit has said, raw is good. Just checked out the reviews, almost 5 stars. Nadia is saying, fab talks, thanks. Shamoni saying, great talk. Suki saying, congrats on your book, great achievement in turning your life around. And Asmi is also saying, always follow your gut instinct. So gut instinct is intuition, which is higher form of intelligence, Sumit saying. So that's some more comments. I mean, did anybody else want to ask any questions? If you want to unmute yourselves and ask a question, you've got a couple of minutes before we move on to Sumit.
I think we've got one there. Roger?
Roger, go for it.
Thanks, Steve. In my head, actually, I was subtitling that as going deep with Deep, because I felt like we really
Absolutely, I would agree.
Not the first time I've heard that, Roger.
The question I'd got, you were talking about sort of people with addictions not actually realising at the time until they're too far down that route that they've got addictions. What advice would you give for people to sort of wake up and smell the coffee, as it were, a bit earlier and realise that what they have is an addiction?
Okay, so the definition of addiction that one of my favorites, Gavin Marte, says is when you're doing something obsessively that you know that is negatively impacting your life in some way. Okay, so for me, you know, I was doing cocaine, thought I was doing great until I moved on to prescription Adderall. Then I was blacking out at work. I was still the top performer. I was still, you know, high ranking, everything, but I was actually blacking out and unable to attend work. That was a real sign to me that something really was wrong. And I really needed to wake up. Until that point, I was just going to continue going on and on and on. But actually, to your point, like, you know, you will notice the signs earlier. Like, you just know in yourself that you're not doing something that doesn't serve you. I just know when I had my recent coffee addiction that I just knew I needed it throughout the day, that I was constantly using it as a crutch to cope, right? So we all know this. And the trick is that I knew, we all know, the trouble is that it's serving us on some level. There's a deep wound there. So it's really just being honest with yourself and saying, okay, is it safe for me to let this go? Am I ready to let this go? Am I going to actually, you know, get the right guidance too? Because as soon as you take that, you know, thing away, it can be quite painful, because actually, you know, for me, it was hiding this idea that I'm just not good enough, that no one likes me, that I don't have friends. That's what I had to face and deal with. So be really kind to yourself, but just acknowledge that if that's you or anyone else, that actually, okay, I know that something's not right. Let me just ask myself a few simple questions like, how is this serving me? Because it's serving me on some level. Breathe into the body and ask. And then you can just simply ask yourself, because yourself knows always the truest answer. You know, what can I do about this? What do I need? What does my inner child need? What is the solution? And then you can choose how to respond. And it might be, no, actually, I'm so not ready for this yet.
Right, excellent. Great answer. Thank you very much, Steve.
You're welcome. You're on mute, Simon.
There you go. Sorry about that. So yeah, I was just going to say there's some more comments for you, Deep. So we've got Angela Sung. I've recently met Angela, bless her. Although I caught the story halfway, it's very emotional. I always wondered if the womb did affect the new baby. Glad you could clarify that it could. Yeah. Nadia's asking, are there any tools or tips you would suggest for training your intuition and increasing your own awareness? And then Angela's also said, well done for telling and writing your story. I wish more Asians and traditional background women talked about deep issues we hide in our society and be able to come out to share it with the world. So true, Angela. And John is saying, thanks everyone. It's been so wonderful and motivational. Keep it up. But I have to leave. Thank you for joining us so far, John. And Rish is just saying as well, I believe the mother's mindset affects the womb, which will affect the unborn baby as well. So going back to Nadia's question, tips about training your intuition and increasing your own awareness.
Okay, so when I first started to really notice my inner being, my intuition, I started asking questions and I got really present with myself, and I just trusted my own knowing, because people are going to think you're crazy. Screw other people. I don't know if I can swear, but screw other people.
Yeah.
And just go within, because you are going to be your own best friend here, and just forget about what other people think about this and just get really present with yourself. And for me, I just started
I would always say as well, you can be your own worst enemy and you can be your own best friend. So definitely be your own best friend.
Yeah. And the hardest thing for most people to believe is that they actually have this ability or power inside them. And when you can break through that block and know that we all have access to this superhuman guidance inside of us, and we all have the ability to live out your dreams. So with me, I never dreamed of, I always wanted to write. That was my biggest thing I've ever wanted to do. And, you know, my guidance, God had helped me to write that book, literally from waking me up in the morning and saying to me, you know, like an alarm, get up and write the book, Deep, you know, get up, you know, stop, you know, I would never have done this. I would never have been on this talk, because I was so afraid of everything. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of failing. I didn't want to start. I just want to give you that, because my life is a true testament to that. Because whilst I had everything in one area, the fears that I held around my true dreams, because the things that we really want are from the ones that we avoid, I really needed that help. I could never have done any of this. I could never have got to where I am right now. So how to increase that, because I think everybody needs this, is just get quiet, just get present, and really tune into yourself. Start noticing your thoughts and becoming really aware of them. That's the key. Notice your thoughts and what they're saying. then when you start to realize that there is a whole inner dialogue going on all the time, and you become really aware of that, and you start labeling, okay, that's my thought, that's a negative or a positive, or it's a toxic one. Then you start asking questions when you're present and silent, and just ask questions to God, the universe, higher power, intuition, whatever you feel, and just say, hi, are you there? And you'll get response. Yeah, it's me. Hey, I need help with this. What's the answer to this? What should I do today? What's my next step? You will receive an answer so super fast that it's almost like, did I think that, or where did that come from? Now, if it comes super fast, you know that you didn't have time to think that thought. And that thought that comes in is that connection to source, is that energy within us. If you believe that all our cells are connected across the universe, that super fast is the channeling. Abraham Hicks does. I do it constantly. I think I did it with Chamonix just yesterday.
I love Abraham Hicks as well.
Yeah, and we all have that access to that inner being inside of us, whatever you want to call that, God, higher power, source. And you can just ask it questions and start building a relationship. And then over time, you will just receive guidance all day, every day, like I do. Just like make that phone call deep, call that person, don't call that person. You know, it's always the hard things to do, right? That I don't want to do, that I end up being guided to do. Go and speak on that thing right now, even though you're not feeling well. Go get your makeup on. You know, do this, that kind of stuff. Is what comes through. It's not going to be like the easy stuff. Like it is like, you're doing a great job. I get that a lot, but it's also, you know, you're going to get guidance that may be uncomfortable. Yeah. But you have to trust in yourself, that you know yourself enough, that you've got to trust that voice that comes in, and just forget what anyone else thinks, and just have that personal spiritual relationship to your inner being, and then follow other people who do the same. Follow Abraham Hicks, Gabby Bernstein, myself, anyone you know that's in the same league.
I always say you become an average of the people you hang around with and learn from, so definitely that's a great tip. I'm just going to move on quickly because I'm just mindful of the time, but just one thing I did want to touch on, Baba, you were saying about how to not be late. There is a technique that I use as well that does like a switch in your perception of time, so I can do that with yourself if you want at some point. And Rish has just commented as well, I once did a floating spa and I was in a pod, which I don't know if you guys have heard of floating spa. You're basically in this Epsom salts that keeps your body lifted so you can't sink. I did it as well with him at the time. He said when he was in the pod, it reminded him of the fetal position, and it was like a deep form of meditation, which was surreal. My mother was going through a really hard pregnancy. When she was pregnant with me, mentally she was all over the place. It was like I could see through her eyes, her soul at that time. Floating spa was in Jewellery Quarter in Birmingham, absolutely amazing. When I felt it was a mixture of sadness at first and absolute wonderment, like a baby walking for the first time. I cannot explain it fully. For those who experienced it, they can relate. So there's that. So what I'll do is thank you so much for sharing that, Rish, and I totally agree with him. It is a surreal experience if anybody wants to do that. So now moving on to Sumit. So first of all, thank you so much, Deep, for that. That was amazing.
Thank you, everyone.
And going on to Sumit now. So Sumit is an executive coach. He's worked in the corporate industry and he's been firing all cylinders at the moment. He's been doing amazing, phenomenal work on LinkedIn as well. I've been seeing all of his posts get like hundreds and hundreds of likes and so much traction going on for him. So it's brilliant. He's helped people globally as well in his company, work up the ranks and work towards promotion. So how to keep your mindset up to scratch at work, I would say in a nutshell, is what Sumit is about. So I'll just get Sumit on now. So welcome, Sumit. Again, thank you to you as well. I know you were saying you was coming down with some similar symptoms yesterday, but you still, you know, pulled yourself up out of that and you said, I'm going to be part of this today. So I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sumit. And also don't forget to start off with, what's your description of mindset?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, awesome. Thanks a lot for that, Suman. For me, I am a typical city boy, I guess. That's the best way I can describe myself. So when I do talk about mindset or any of the other things, for me, tangibility is extremely important. It is extremely important for me to be able to measure if I'm making the right progress. And in terms of mindset, I see it as the fuel for our actions, as everyone has alluded to. There's no two ways about it. Until 2012, I did pretty well actually at university. Let me start at university. I did pretty well. I got awarded Student of the Year for all 4 years at university. I got above 80% as my average, and I had a high sense of self-esteem. Working my way up to 2012, suddenly I found that other people are doing better in life than I am in terms of career. I found that my personal relationships were not going that well, including with my parents, my partner, and so on. There were a lot of pressures at the time as well, as visa rules and things like that had changed. I'm originally from India, and I had to suddenly go into doing an MSc part-time while doing a full-time job at Credit Suisse at an investment bank. And at that time, as we all know, there was a big financial crisis as well. During the crisis, Credit Suisse was, or the investment bank, I should say, was laying off 33% staff every year. For me, what it meant, if they laid me off at the time my visa was up for renewal, I go back to India. That's it. I mean, it's not a bad thing to go back to India, but I wanted to stay here. That was my goal. So that, I think, the stress really took its toll on me. I had issues like acid reflux, and that's when I really took a back seat. And I took a step back basically, and I said, okay, what's going wrong? There's something going wrong. If you think you are so intelligent, why are you not being able to cope? It's basic self-reflection. And that's when I started to do self-development. And one of the key things I would say is emotional intelligence as part of the successful mindset, and also being positive, but realizing that there are two levels of mindset. There's the conscious mindset, and this is what we are telling, that we are going to be successful and whatever, but there's a subconscious mindset. And whenever there is a conflict between the conscious mindset and the subconscious mindset, the subconscious will win. We will start to do what the subconscious mind is telling us. I do have a lovely model in terms of mindset that we can look at. So let me get started with my presentation, and any questions you might have after the presentation. I'm just going to share my screen. So let me know when you can see my screen.
Yep, that's up.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Right. So in this webinar, I'm going to cover a brief introduction about myself, a technique, again, that is quite handy to start using straight away for any and everyone. A lot of my content is based for professionals. The good thing is these techniques that I have really collected and organized and used over the past years, they can be easily used in your personal life as well. And they are basically built around keeping your authentic self there, because a lot of people might realize who work in corporate companies that sometimes people are different at home and people are different in the corporate company. I personally am of the opinion that you should be your authentic self everywhere that you are. So I'll speak more about the EOR technique. I'll speak about the GROW model, which is a common coaching model, and this can be used best with a coach. It can also be used with a partner that you have who could help you do this, and it could be used by yourself as well to gain clarity on your goals, and so on. And the fourth element I included for this particular webinar was positivity, given the COVID situation right now. And the last one, I can expand a bit more on the services I offer as well. So in terms of my quick introduction, my motto in life is really explore plus evolve. And it is basically, you'll see this in the next slide as well, I've held a variety of different roles. And typically after 3 to 4 years, I find myself wanting to learn something new, because that's the way I can upgrade my skill set. I've got 15 years of experience working in London. 5 of those years and more are director level and above. So it's actually a similar story to Deep in the way that it is in the financial industry, and it is again earning 6 figures and not necessarily starting with 1. But it's based around the financial investments industry. I worked at Credit Suisse, at S&P Dow Jones Indices, Legal and General Investment Management, and CME Group. I've held these different roles, and I've never had to luckily take a pay cut whenever transitioning from one role to another role. I've held roles in sales, IT, quant investment strategies, which are typically hedge fund strategies or strategies for investment banks, automated strategies, algorithmic strategies you might have heard of. I worked in fund management, worked in business development. So very much a numbers driven guy, and I do bring that measurement of progress to every individual's life as well, to be able to track whether that positive mindset and that success mindset is really working for them or not, because that is a very important indication of if we need to tweak that personal strategy of success for you. In terms of my background, it's been in electronic engineering and computer science to begin with. For my MSc, I moved to doing quantitative trading and mathematical finance, and now I'm pursuing the MBA. The MSc and MBA I did part-time along with a full-time job while working in London in the financial industry. Okay, so that's enough of me. What I'd like to really start here now is with the EOR model, and I'll give you a quick introduction into it. Is most of us are aware that responding in panic or anger to an event, and panic obviously resonates right now. A lot of people might be in panic with the whole COVID situation. It does not necessarily get us the desired results. In fact, it often creates more problems for us later or even at the time. So the question then arises is, this is our natural self, correct? I mean, these are human emotions. Yes, you can say that you should not be panicky or you should not, be angry or things like that. But how do you stop this from happening? We're not robots at the end of the day. So one technique that I found really, really useful to handle this is to actually shift our mindset immediately to a more rational lens from the emotional lens. Typically, we are looking at an event. So an event will happen, we will have a reaction to that event, and based on the reaction, we're going to get an outcome. For example, take the current situation of COVID-19. So COVID-19 has happened. You're panicky that you might lose your job. You're panicky about the health situation. You're panicky you can't go outside. There's a lot of panic, and it is a challenging situation, to be very fair. Out of that panic, what's going to be the outcome if you're just panicking? You're going to fail to adapt. However, if we now change this model and switch out outcome for reaction in the sequence, what's going to happen? The event has happened. COVID-19 has happened. There's nothing that we can do apart from contributing by staying at home and not letting the virus spread further. Agreed, right? That's one way of reacting, and we should all do that completely. But it does not mean that we have to stay at home and panic. We have to adapt. We have to see what is happening in terms of changing of economies, what is happening internally with our emotions. How can we look to change our routines and strategize accordingly? And once we strategize based on the outcome we want, we'll automatically find that the outcome is going to be successful for us. So that's like a typical, very quick way of changing the rational or bringing the rational mind to a situation. Is you immediately think, this event has happened, we can't undo that event. How can I best react to this event for the outcome that I want? And to be honest, like, if we want different results, we need to act and react differently. I'm pretty sure a lot of people here have heard of this, but it is such a nice quote and phrase, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. So if we really want different results, we need to do something different. The input needs to be different if we are expecting a different output. It's as simple as that. This leads us quite nicely into the next model, the GROW model, which stands for basically goals, reality, options, and way forward. The best comparison I've found to it that resonates with almost everyone, actually it does with 100% of the people I've spoken to, is compare it to a road journey. So goal is, where do you want to go? What is that goal? What is your destination? And at this point, I'd like to say is, again, referring to Deep's speech earlier, is a lot of the time we fall into success, the definition of success, what society defines it for us. Yes, he's working in London, he's working in investment banks, he's earning, you know, 6-figure salary, and that's success, you know. But that might not be success really, because again, you're not being fulfilled internally, you're not happy in that position necessarily. So define your own goals, come up with your own success measures, what really matters to you in life. Define the goal in line with SMART principles. And SMART principles basically help to make that goal again more tangible. So it makes it more specific. What is that exact goal? Maybe it is that promotion you want, for example, or you want to be earning a certain amount of money, or it could be spending more time with your family, whatever that is. But make it specific. How much time exactly would you like to spend with your family per day or per week? It should be measurable, because again, measurability is an important concept when it comes to being able to track your progress and understanding if your current mindset is optimum for you. The next thing is it acceptable, or is it a goal or a success measure that is simply unattainable given where you currently are? So it has to be something that's realistic, because if it's not realistic, guess what? You're going to lose motivation sooner or later, because it's too far, it's too big a goal for you to achieve. And the last parameter is time. So when do you hope to achieve this goal in? What time frame? And to this point, I would say is having a time frame to achieve something like, say, within a year, that's good. However, a year itself obviously is a long time. So you should break down that goal into smaller milestones, smaller goals to achieve, maybe monthly, maybe bi-weekly, and even break it down to a daily routine, because we should not underestimate really the power of consistency and the compounding effect of consistency. A little bit every day will lead to tremendous results over a long period of time. And this goes back to what someone was saying earlier in terms of the gym. You don't go to the gym once a day or just one day and suddenly build so much muscle. It is that consistent effort of doing it day in, day out, every day, maybe 4 days a week, 5 days a week, and over the year, over the months, you start to see that progress. Reality is the next thing that, you know, a lot of people need to come to terms with. Right, this is your goal. However, what is your current reality? Where you are at right now? What is holding you back as well? What is stopping you from getting that promotion? So you have to be very objective as well when it comes to determining your reality. And this is where it's really helpful to either have a coach or an objective partner who can give you that true feedback, not necessarily in too harsh a manner, but again, it should not be sugar-coated either. Options. Now that you have understood what your goal is and what your reality is, what is the gap between them? What needs to happen between reality and goal to make the two meet? So start listing the options to fill that gap. Maybe you need a qualification to up your skill set. Maybe you want to take additional responsibility at work. Maybe you want to improve a key process, better visibility with key stakeholders. What are those exact things that will help fill that gap and help you meet that goal? And once you've come up with what those options are, start driving on that selected route now and put milestones in the place. I'm sure when any one of us here is traveling, doing a road trip and it's a 100-mile trip, we check every so often, maybe, you know, or 200-mile trip, we check every so often how many miles we've done or how many miles are left. And that's exactly what it is checking as we go along how much progress we've made and tweaking our strategy. Maybe your sat nav tells you that, hey, you know what, this route coming up is going to be busy. You need to change route. You need to change track. You need to do a tactical adjustment. And that's what you have to do when it comes to reaching your goals as well. Next topic I'd like to discuss is positivity around COVID-19. It is challenging times. We have, obviously, health is primary concern for everyone. Unemployment would be a concern as well. The economic downturn, personal finances, being in lockdown, 100% challenging times. So I just wanted to give out 5 useful tips to be able to cope with these challenging times. The first tip I'd say is limit your news intake. Now, I'm not saying that do not watch the news at all, because as we know, governments and medical staff are constantly giving us updates on what are the best practices. So definitely watch the news. I would say watch it once in the morning, once in the evening, that's enough. There's no point having BBC News or Sky News or whatever's on all the time, 24 hours. It's not going to help. You need to understand that the information bit is the important aspect. However, having continuous negativity will not help during this time. Need to practice gratitude. And I would say note down 3 things that you are grateful for every day. Gratitude brings positivity, which is so important to achieve success. In fact, I would say half of charisma is and gravitas is actually just being a positive person. And this is something I learned from a colleague of mine who attracted a lot of people to speak to him at his desk, and even senior people. And I was like, just by observing him, what is it? Why are they gravitating towards him? It's because everything he said, he put a positive spin on things. He had like a positive outlook to everything. He was able to find opportunity and threat. So it is very, very important to build that positivity. And a very easy way of doing that is to practice gratitude. Yes, we have ambitions, we have a goal, but let's not undermine the achievements we've already made in life. The next point would be to reflect on your past resilience at this time. And for me, that moment is back in 2012. And I think as Suman said in her talk as well, is once you go through a really hard moment, a really hard struggle in life, not a lot of things can deter you really. You're pretty used to being knocked down and get up. You have that confidence that what may come, you will deal with it from a solution mindset. So that is extremely important to remind yourself of how resilient you've been in the past. And if you've not had any super strong resilient moments, then make this current situation your resilient moment that you can look back at in the future and draw inspiration from. Humor is another great way. It is important to keep the jokes going around. It is so important to be positive at this time. It is important to get through these challenging times. There's no doubt. Just a small caveat I would say is make sure that these are in good taste. Obviously, there is a lot of lives at stake. Obviously, as we know, there's been a lot of casualties. So just be aware to use it in good taste. And the 5th tip is acts of kindness. The acts of kindness is so important to contribute to society and show our gratitude to the medical staff, NHS, and everyone on the front line. I'd also say that act of kindness is very good in another way, in that as humans, whenever we think of something, if it's a kind gesture we do for someone to make them happy, as soon as you think it, if you realize and reflect, you will feel that happiness in yourself first. What emotion you want to create in another person, as humans, we feel that emotion in ourselves first. So if you want to be rude or mean to someone or do something devious, you will feel that negativity and bitterness in yourself first. And for me, that is a no-go. I always look at creating the best positivity for myself, and I respect myself. And that's what I would say to everyone, is that respect yourself and have positive thoughts from that aspect. Life should always be about win-win situations. I'd like to end with the services I offer and the benefits of executive coaching, what it could bring. The question I'd like to pose here is, have you ever noticed that the person who works the hardest in the office is not the most rewarded often? I think we've all been there, done that. And there was this one instance in 2013, I believe, 2014, where I was doing 95% of the work, and just with 5% of, just doing 5% or less of work, my colleague was trying to take all the credit from me, and she was attracting more senior management attention as well. So it led me to observe as to what am I doing wrong? Why is the perception about me different? Or why am I not getting the attention or the rewards that I really deserve? And it is much more than just about doing your job in a diligent manner. This next slide should demonstrate that concept. What color do you see? It's red, right? What color do you now see? It's a beach ball, so it's multicolored. The point I'm trying to make here is when you look at the beach ball from so closely and you're not considering any other perspectives, you just see red. However, when you take a step back and start to understand different perspectives that are affecting your professional life and your personal life, your view will change. It helps change the lens by providing a more holistic perspective. It is actually the lens that senior management looks at. It is the one that matters. And I say senior management here, right? But it doesn't have to be senior management. It could be the senior management you have at home, actually. It could be your partner who's looking at a different side of things, you know, and they're not very happy with how you're interacting with them. So all these concepts really, while they are applied for me in a corporate environment, they can easily be used in the personal space as well, in your personal lives as well. And work should not be a red alert danger, alluding to my 2 previous slides. It should really be a beach ball that you enjoy with. And that's really my purpose, is to be able to show people how they can maintain a good work-life balance while achieving their ambitions and career dreams, but in a more fulfilling manner, rather than being anxious all the time to know not know what's going to happen next. I always look at everything from an ROI perspective, so return on investment perspective. And typically what I see, what my coaching clients tell me is that it delivers immediate impact, the coaching. You start to see people's reaction change to you within a week, 2 weeks at office. Those people who saw you as a source of negativity or did not want to speak to you or did not want to collaborate with you, maintain their silos, those start to break down immediately. You will see a 10 to 20% rise in your pay for 5 years. So every year you get 10 to 20% pay rise as you're approaching this from a very different perspective now. And that really equates to more than 20 times return on investment on what you would be spending on executive coaching, which is a 2,000% return just based on these 5 years, really. It also improves your personal life. So that's just a great side to have, because it just means you're going to have more peace of mind at home. You're going to be more happy as a person, happy, productive, and being successful. Yeah, I'll take that any day. In terms of bespoke and premium coaching, the executive coaching program is really like going to be made bespokely for you. It is basically to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your ambitions are. It's aimed at senior executives, director level or above. It's also based for those who are seeking to get to those levels, and for managers who are just starting out in their career and moving from maybe an individual contributor role to a management role. It's based on onshore and offshore team management, career transitions. Again, as I alluded to earlier, I've worked in 5 different verticals, and my next vertical is going to be in organizational effectiveness. I'm quite used to being able to transition and draw those transferable skills in my previous experiences to get the jobs I really want to do now and reach the self-actualization stage. CV preparation is another important thing, especially at this time as industries are changing, the way we are approaching work is changing. Remote work is becoming more the norm now, and it will probably become more the norm in future for sure after the fallout from this COVID virus outbreak. So those are some of the things you can benefit from. And all these are aimed in terms of the toolkit you'll develop would be like your vision, your goal setting, motivational techniques, emotional intelligence, stakeholder management, art of communication, personal branding, and effective networking. So I'd really like to invite you to unleash your potential and make your dreams a reality by someone who has done it himself as well. And that's what my company is all about, SKM. It's about success and kindness model that can be applied. Completely aware of the current situation that's going around, but if you are feeling stressed right now, if you just need someone to talk to, I'm happy to do that, even on a free basis. We all want to contribute in making this challenging situation a bit more manageable for everyone. So do reach out to me if need be. That's my email address, and that's my LinkedIn. I do put out regular free content on LinkedIn to follow as well. So please follow. It's very tangible steps, what steps you can exactly do. It usually, my posts are centered around why you want to do something and how to do it. A lot of people find that quite useful. So please feel free to follow me, and I'll be happy to exchange my views and comments on there as well. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much, Sumit. That was awesome. And I feel like there were so many different elements. Like I was taking in so much information, and you kept it so sharp and concise, and the snippets in between. And I'm wishing now I'd made some notes in between, because there was a lot of little bits that I wanted to like delve into. But I'll open it to the rest of the guys now. Is there anybody who's got any questions for Sumit? So far the comments I've got is Roger saying, a great job of taking a positive approach and utilizing our global current challenge to illustrate your points rather than avoiding the subject. So that's great. And Risha said, very interesting talk, Sumit, enjoyed that, well done. Nadia saying, thank you, great work. And Deep's also saying, thank you, Sumit, really loved that. You know, being from coaching background myself, the Grow model, it was great to touch on that again and to see your take on it. And just thinking, your screen still being shared, I think.
No, I've stopped it now.
But yeah, and also that one that you started off with was the EOR, wasn't it? So the event, outcome, and then was that the reaction or result? Was it reaction? Yeah. So yeah, that was really interesting to see that breakdown, how you explained it. I definitely loved your tips. Your 5 tips were amazing, because I definitely will agree with you. The whole thing about too much media. I mean, in my whole life, I'll be honest, I want limited news. I'm always saying to my husband, stop reading the news, stop putting the news on the telly. But I totally agree with what you're saying. With the current climate, we do need to keep up to date with updates that are going on. But the funny thing is, even if you're not watching news, you're going to find that update somewhere. Someone's going to send you a message and give you an update, so you will be fully updated. It was so funny because even little things like when Boris Johnson was declared to have coronavirus, I opened my phone and people are posting about it. People are sending me messages about it. I've seen it on people's WhatsApp statuses. Come downstairs straight away. My mother-in-law was like, did you know Boris Johnson has got it now? I said, yeah, I already knew even before I've come downstairs. So you will get your news, but definitely touch in with it once or twice in the day. Don't let it take over your mind. I think that's a top tip. And the humour, definitely, I agree with that. And what I'd also say, I'm glad you said about in good taste, because there's a lot going on with a lot of people right now. In some of the groups I'm in, some people have talked about people who have passed away in their families with it. So it is a serious situation. So I'll also say, if you want to touch on the humour side, go to alternative forms of humour. My mum the other day was saying to me, can you recommend something funny to watch on Netflix? I said, absolutely, here's a list. You know, so even if it means like finding humour in your life in different ways, it helps you get more like light-hearted about things in general, with your energy and your the way you're feeling about stuff. So yeah, just wondering if anybody else had any questions or thoughts for you. Does anybody want to, if you want to, you can unmute yourself. And I'm quite wary of the time, but I have got this going on until 4:30, actually, the time slot. So I wanted to make sure Shimoni has her full time, because you guys do not want to miss that. So thank you so much again, Sumit. I'm just going to get you on mute now, and we're going to be moving over to Shimoni. And what can I say about Shimoni? Queen of Clarity, Clarity Maven, my soul sister she's become now. We share such a fiery energy. She's the one coach I've worked with so many coaches, but you know, when I worked with Shimoni, and the fact that like her mind works like this and my mind always works like this, and I needed somebody who was on that pace to keep up with the way my mind thinks about things. So she was just perfect match for me when I started working with Shimoni. So let me see where she's at.
I'm here.
There she is. Hey, gorgeous.
How you doing? Good to see you. Just loving the way you're just shining. Oops. Just loving the way you're just shining. And, you know, can we just give like Suman a big round of applause?
Thank you.
You're doing an amazing job, and just to see you flourish has just been, it gets me a bit emotional, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's just amazing.
That's what happens when me and Shimoni get together. It's all about hearts and emotions, and our emotions are just open, which is so lovely to be with somebody that you can just fully express yourself and not have that hesitancy of how you're feeling. So Shimoni, yeah, give us your intro, yourself and your take on mindset.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Suman. I've been loving the talk so far, really inspirational. Everyone's got a different flavor. And, you know, I don't think you can get enough of stories and people's perspectives. So what is mindset to me? I'm not sure if it's allowed if I say that, but I'll say it anyway. Mindset to me is about making shit up. That's what mindset is. Make shit up, because everything is made up anyway. You know, everything, we're just making meanings out of situations, aren't we?
It's so true. And you know what, I've purposefully muted myself on everyone's talk, so I don't want to interrupt your talk, but that point I had to comment on. I always call it BS. It's bullshit belief systems, because they're all constructive and they're all made up by ourselves.
Exactly. No, feel free to jump in anytime. I have no problem with that. But honestly, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, everything is made up. We can choose the meanings that we want to put on any situation, and you can represent any situation in any way you like to, you choose to, and even in the most terrible situation, you can, you know, you represent in a way that empowers you, and that's what mindset to me is about. Just make it up. You know, you got the choice. It's all made up anyway. So, you know, make that conscious choice and use it to your advantage. And with that, I'd like to actually just share some 4 mindset shifts actually that I really believe is going to really support us right now. And I say this not just out of, you know, thin air, but just to put into perspective, I was actually pretty much housebound for about 4 months right before the COVID-19 outbreak from some of my health issues, and prior to that, most of the past 3.5 years I've actually been at home, and from some of the health issues that I've had to go through. And so it was interesting, about a week or 2 before COVID-19 I just came out and I was like, yay, I'm out of the house, you know, all good. And now everyone's like, you know, come back in, and it feels like, welcome to my world. And so I guess it just gave me that thing, you know, when I told you, someone, like, it felt like my life did a 360 on me. It's like, oh my God, now I know what I went through, why I went through it. And it's because it's prepared me for this moment. And now, while everyone's kind of struggling being at home, I'm like slaying through it, like I'm cruising. This is no big deal for me. And I'm literally, if anything, I feel stronger than ever before in this moment. So I thought it would be good for me to just share some of my perspectives on how I've been able to get through some of these times. And not only that, I did probably like ran around like a headless chicken most of my life trying to be successful, but it's only when I actually became housebound that I hit 6 figures. So you know I just thought, if I can do it in these sort of times, and being stuck at home and being unwell with quite a lot of health symptoms, chronic fatigue. If some of you guys don't know what that is, it's basically where you can sleep all you like. I mean, it's a bit better now, but you can sleep all you like, and you know, my muscles became really, really weak, and I couldn't. Let me just go back for a second. Let me just go to the 4 mindset shifts that I really would like you guys to know about. And that is, they're the 4 O's. And if you know anything about me, you know that I like my alliteration and my words. That's my thing. And just so you guys know, I'm a intuitive niche and message. And what that basically means is that I help coaches, healers, speakers, and entrepreneurs, anyone who's here to make a massive difference in the world. Who's here to make a massive difference, guys? Anyone here? They want to make a big contribution? Yeah, give me a high five. Awesome. So I help, you know, people like yourself exactly get total clarity and alignment with the work that you're meant to be doing in the world, and how you can communicate it in a way that inspires other people to want to come forward and work with you, and you know, do it in a way that really represents who you are and really get connected to your true purpose. But it's the words that I'm really passionate about, because many of us are sitting on gold. And I really believe that, you know, you can be great at what you do, but if you're not great at explaining the unique value that you bring, guess what? you're going to lose an opportunity to change someone's life because they might not know it's for them. And so that's my thing, but I didn't know that always. And so what I'd like to say is just 4 mindset shifts is this. Number 1 is O. O stands for opportunity. Right now, I believe, you know, we can use, like, let's use the acronym FEAR, like some people use it as false evidence appearing real. Who's heard of that one before? You may have heard of that one before. Or it could be forget everything and run, like, you know, and some people probably want to do that right now, you know, want to run away from everybody. And that's cool. You know, that's probably a good idea a little bit, but, you know, the other thing is, I can feel excited and ready. Who likes that one? Feel excited and ready. This is the moment that we can use this moment to bring out the best in us. This is the moment that we can be of service. This is the moment we can start what we're really meant to be doing. I mean, when in history have we had this much time in our hands, being indoors, reflecting? You know, this is the time to get back into alignment to your true purpose. And so, you know, we can even use this as an obstacle, treat it like an obstacle. Or it's like, you know, what BAL said, you know, it's an opportunity for her to, you know, like declutter, or, you know, it's an opportunity for you to catch up with friends or people that, you know, you haven't had a chance to, you know, talk to, or just spending that quality time that, you know, you could. It's like the universe is that slap that is given to us to make that happen. So you can use this as an opportunity, or you can treat it as an obstacle. It's really your choice. It's you know, you can set your mind whichever way. And I believe that if you see it as an opportunity, we're going to be more excited. We're going to be more, you know, we're going to be more open to ideas. And that gets me to the next point, which is being open. Yes, we can be closed about it and just think, oh my God, nothing's going to happen, and just start to, you know, just look at all the stories, and there is a reality in everything that's happening, that there is reason to be concerned, of course, but, you know, what if we were just curious, and what if it is going to be better than even before? What if things are going to be better than before? What if we're just open to that idea? So let's be open rather than being closed. Okay, the other one is, you know, we can think about everything that could go wrong, and our businesses falling apart, our lives falling apart, or, you know, everything getting really hectic at home because now there's kids indoors, or whatever it is. Or we can be pessimistic, or we can be optimistic. So we've got opportunity, being open, and being optimistic about the situation. Either way, like I said, you can make shit up. The truth is, people are losing their lives. The truth is, you know, things are, to be honest with you, it was really quite humbling yesterday. I was trying to order food, and none of the foods that I can eat, because I've still got a lot of health issues and food sensitivities, and I couldn't, you know, order the food that I needed. And I just thought to myself, wow, I've never in my life have I had to think about, when am I going to be able to have, like, what if I can't have the meal that I'm able to have? Because if I can't have it, I might get unwell. I had to really wonder where my next meal, not my next meal necessarily today, but like in the next few days, I'm thinking, how is that going to happen? And so it's been a bit of a humbling experience. I think for all of us, I think this is a time where it's going to strip away a lot of the veneer. You know, it's going to strip away a lot of the vanity, and it's going to step us into humanity. And I'm so excited about that, because I'm all about, you know, from you know, from insanity to vanity to humanity. I think this is where we're going. And I think this is a course correction. This is an opportunity for course correction, for humanity to come back, and for us to do our great work, for us to be of service. People are, you know, coming together. They're trying to help each other, and this is what I'm really, really excited about. The other thing is, this is the great opportunity to optimize. You know, this is the time to grow within. This is the time to really learn, upskill, up-level the things that you've wanted to do and you've been putting off, those courses that are turned into shelf help. Go get those at the shelf now. You know, make that happen. This is the time. This is the time to grow within. You can do this. So, you know, let's not lose this opportunity to use it as an opportunity to do the thing that you're meant to be doing and get back into purpose, being open, being optimistic, and lastly, using it to optimize so that when everything is over, that we can come out the best version, stronger than ever before. Let's all come back. This is a setback, but we all know a setback is always a setup for a big comeback. And are we down with that, everybody? So we're gonna come back stronger than ever before. Can I get your unmute you guys, and can I get a bit of high five on that, everyone? Let's do this. We're gonna come back stronger than ever before. Let's just do this.
Yes.
Let's just put this prayer out.
High five.
Stronger
High
than ever
five.
before. We're in this together. We are gonna come back stronger than ever before.
Definitely.
Is that awesome? So guys, what I wanted to share is my story of how I managed to get here. What had happened is 4 years ago, actually my story goes back to school when I was like at school, 12 years old, and I got ostracized from school. Overnight, nobody wanted to speak to me, and for months and months and months, I used to hang around by myself, and it was a bit of a, for a 12-year-old, that's a bit of a, that your world is your school, your friends, and then if no one wants to talk to you, it's a bit of a, you know, it's a bit of a sad world after that. So I kind of like for months and months and months, I just was hanging around by myself. I kind of shut down, and I became this, you know, I was this happy, bubbly type of girl who just kind of shrunk and became silent and shut down, and just really sad. And I just knew I couldn't be in that environment anymore. I don't know about you guys. Have you ever been in an environment where you just know this is not an environment where you're going to flourish? And you just know that you've got to do something about it. Like, again, I could have just used my mindset and think, oh, like, you know, I've got to just stay here. I'm meant to be at school. But actually, you know, I had a bit of a creative mind even back then. And I found a way to get out of school. And the way that, I don't know if I told you this or not, but here it is, guys. So one day I was watching X-Files. And then I thought, ooh, I know what to do now to get out of school. So the next day I started telling everybody that I'm seeing things. And something said to me, and it's what Deep said, I think that was absolutely divine guidance. It was Source, God, answering my prayers. And I said to everybody, I'm seeing things, and I literally pretended to see things, and on the spot I would talk to the person, and guess who it was, guys? Oh God, I can't believe I'm confessing. You guys are gonna crack up. Oh my God, Nick from Backstreet Boys.
I had to unmute myself for that because you know what? You're just cracking me up right now, but I'm loving it.
Oh God, I can't believe I've just made that confession. No, but the funny thing is I was speaking to him and his twin.
What did you talk to them about?
No idea. But it was like, and you know, needless to say, it was freaking everybody out, you know. And I just thought, yes, this is, the plan is working. And then the next thing, I started throwing these fits in the middle of class, like literally shake my whole body. Obviously, it was quite humiliating, but something said to me, I've just got to keep doing this until I can get out of school. This is the plan. Something was giving me guidance. This is the plan. Like, Sharon, like, just keep doing this. This will get you out of school. Very soon, someone said at school that the teacher said to me, the teacher said, you know, to me and my, that actually, you know, maybe you know, you're obviously not well. This is not, you know, you're obviously not feeling well. This is obviously something that you need to, you know, look into. Maybe you need to get out of, maybe you need to take some time off school. I was like, yes, the plan worked. And so there you go. I got out of school, but the saddest part was I had to carry on this facade at home, and that was the sad part because I didn't want to hurt anybody, didn't want to hurt my family, but I had to carry on being mentally unwell, you know, and you know, carry on like saying things, seeing things, you know. It's funny, I can laugh about it now, but it was quite disturbing, as you can imagine, for Asian parents to now You know, not as if they don't have enough to think about what
You know
other people will.
It's every Asian parent's worst nightmare. Every parent, but Asian parents especially, because it can be quite superstitious.
Oh, could you imagine, like, you know, how devastating it was for them? Like, you know, their daughter is now, I mean, it was just, oh gosh, and it was quite sad. I didn't want to keep lying to them, but how many temples did they make you visit? A few. Oh God. Anyway, now, so, but the funny thing is, guys, it actually ended up, I had to carry on, so I didn't need to go back to school anymore. And eventually I got admitted into a psychiatric unit. And I still didn't know how to tell the truth. Obviously, I was really quite disturbed, you know, and I was really sad from what really had happened, but I couldn't tell the truth, and I had to now live 2 lives, you know. And so I was in a psychiatric unit. I used to get restrained down to the floor, forcefully to have my medication, and I couldn't speak up. Because what if I had to go back to school? So, you know, and so that was my biggest fear. I never wanted to go back. So I had to carry on. Somehow, when I came out of that psychiatric unit, so this is how it happened. So I thought I could see myself feeling like going into a zombie mode from having the medication. I thought, okay, I came out of school, now I gotta come out of this loopy bin now, you know, like I gotta come out of this now. How do I come out of this one now? And so, oopsie daisy, I had no idea okay, cool. So so what I said to them, look, I've just got this feeling that these hallucinations are not going to happen anymore. I've just got a feeling these fits are not going to. I've just got this feeling inside, and you know, just test it out, give it a go, and see if it happens again. Then take me off, you know, like then obviously put me back on medication. But if it doesn't, then you know, put me back on. You know, let's just see how it goes. But obviously, it never came back again. So finally, I came out of that place, and I was just a different person. I was just happy. I was excited, but I got lost in the system. No school actually wanted me back because they needed a psychiatric report saying that I'm fit enough. And for me, that was just really good news because I never wanted to go back to school again. And then I got my first job at 13. I remember coming out and feeling excited and thinking, you know, I'm going to get myself a job. My dad said, "Who's going to give you a job at 13?" And I was like, and this is another point in mindset. I was like, why wouldn't someone give me a job? I couldn't see why someone wouldn't give me a job. That's the funny part. And lo and behold, within a couple of hours, I got a job. And that's the thing about mindset, is that we can choose. Again, I didn't even know I didn't even imagine that I wouldn't. I didn't understand why I wouldn't. So I guess this is the kind of mindset shift that we can have. We can choose to look in terms of possibility rather than, the worst case scenario, rather than how things are, like thinking outside the box, basically. And that's my key thing, is like, I could have decided that actually I couldn't get out of school because this is the rules. I could have actually decided that no, I can't get a job because I'm 13. But we don't have to choose to stay within the rules. And I think Vishen Lakhiani talks about rules, so like, they're all bullshit rules, like, and we can choose our own rules and play by our own rules. That's my whole way of thinking. And, but long story short, guys, I think the key parts of the story is that I went through a lot of trauma during when I came. So I was a little girl in a big man's world. Let's just say, I won't go into too deep stuff, but for throughout my adolescence, I went through a lot of challenging experiences, a lot of trauma. I was completely out of school, and it was hard times. And I was always constantly trying to find my place in the world. I know Deep was talking about, me and Deep have worked quite closely together. And, it's about feeling of belonging, never knowing quite where you belong. And for me, that's been my journey. I knew I was always here for something big. And my story and my message today is really about, we can turn our mess into our message. We can really turn our mess into our message. We can really make the most of our story and make it count, and not let that pain not go down in vain. That's what my true why is. I don't want to see anyone's pain go down in vain. Let's turn it around and use it as a source of service, and that way, you know, we can make everything that we've been through worthwhile. Like, for example, what Deep's had gone through, I mean, she's gone through really tough times, but now she's using that as a source of service. As you, Suman, as you know, everybody, you know, you've been through something. If you can then turn that into service, then you can make what you've been through worthwhile. And so for me, it kind of all caught up to me about 3 years ago when I discovered the coaching world, and I thought I found my thing. But even within the coaching world, I couldn't quite find my fit. I knew that I wasn't going to be a life coach, but I didn't know what kind of coach I was meant to be. And I was just trying to find my feet, and I just knew there was something different that I'm meant to do, but what it was, I couldn't. I don't know if you've ever been there where you're just still struggling to find your purpose. I think if there's anything I think it's just that one question that we all ask, don't we, at some point in our lives: why am I here? Why am I here? I'm here for a reason, but what is that reason? I think we all ask that question. And for me, I was just searching and everything out there. You know, I went from degree to degree, never quite find my feet. You know, I come from a family background where everyone's a doctor, engineer, MBAs, PhDs, and so it was just, I just never could find what I was meant to do. But anyway, once I did find the coaching industry, I knew it was for me, but I still didn't find my feet. I guess the frustration and the trauma from the past, I kind of chinned up with everything, if that makes sense. But it kind of caught up to me about a few years ago. The trauma and everything, I do believe, caught up to me. And then I was running my business, monthly business, for change makers, and we support each other to get your purpose and mission vision out there in the world. And it was I was bringing about 60-70 people every month. It was fun, but after, I remember it was 2016 New Year's Eve 2017, so it was 31st December 2016. We were going out for a family meal. I was at the back of the car, and literally out of nowhere, I just collapsed for a few minutes, and I thought I was going to be okay afterwards. That night I came back home and I thought I was going to be okay after a few days, but actually I never, that day turned into a week turned into a month after month. I was in bed, and I developed, you know, all sorts of crazy symptoms. My skin started burning. I had to put ice on my hands. My hips started swelling up. My muscles started crumbling underneath. I couldn't understand what was going on. It was the most scariest time of my life. Crippling fear and anxiety. My skin started changing like a snake shedding their skin. Skin started shriveling. My muscles, my rock hard calves became wobbly like jelly the next day. And all I was being told by doctors was that take a walk in the park. And I think, you know, when you don't know what's happening to your body, and then the people who you rely on to know what's happening to your body, they tell you there's nothing going on, or they're telling you take a walk in the park, it's very scary. And so I knew I had to take, again, a mindset shift. I had to take things in my own hands. Of course, I was going through a tough time. I really wanted to leave the planet every single day. So I totally understand, obviously a different perspective to Deep, but I understand that feeling. I wanted to leave the planet every single day. I just wanted to go. But something kept me going. And I think this is it. It's about, in dire circumstances, having a sort of sense of purpose, knowing you're here for something, trusting that everything is happening for a reason. There's a bigger plan. And obviously today, now I know that all this sort of stuff happened for a reason. And I know that that is the truth, not just for me, but all of you guys. Whatever you've been through has happened because you're here to now. You've done the 10. I always say, I've done the 10 years. You know, so you don't have to. You've done the 10 years in the area that you've struggled with, so that someone else doesn't have to, you know. Whatever you want to do in the world, you've done the 10 years for that. So just know that it didn't go down in vain. And then what happened was, I knew I had to take things into my own hands, and I did. And I decided that, hey, I was going to at least just get a couple of clients to pay for my healthcare, just because I was on benefits at the time. For 2 years, I couldn't, you know, it turned into 2 years. I was in bed, and mostly in bed and housebound. And so that month, I decided, I just made an intention. I've got to get healthcare. I'm not going to get anything from NHS. So let me take things into my own hands. And that month, I remember that intention, and this is the power of intention and what Suman talks about, you know, about when we set something and we focus on it, and then it shows up in our lives, we attract it. Well, I got my first client, you know, a referral. That person said yes, and I remember that time. Who's going to give me £1,000? I thought to myself, but you know, that person then said, you know, £1,200 said yes. A week later, it was 2,500. They said yes. And then, you know, a couple of days, you know, that month, 8 out of 8 people, literally 8 out of 8 people. And this is the power of, you know, intention and power of determination. You know, what BAL talks about when you're determined. Well, it's the power of determination. That month, 8 out of 8 people said yes. And while I was even in bed, while I was sitting on bed, I made, I made my first 10K month in bed. 8 out of 8 people said yes. And for me, I was like, oh my God, I've been running around like a headless chicken all these years, trying to make things happen. And then here, my back went against the wall. I was sitting down, you know, I was still in bed, and this is when I actually made my breakthrough. And for me, that was a big deal. And I just thought to myself, wow, if I can do this in these circumstances, I can still make an impact. You know, what would be possible when I'm better, and what I could do. And long story short, it ended up being last October 2019. It was a year in the business of helping people, you know, clarify their message and their purpose, and you know, what they're meant to do. And it turned into 6 figures. And so, and I spent most of the time, 90% of the time, housebound. And so I just think if I can do it in those sort of circumstances, you know, with health issues, with being housebound, no one even saw my face half the time. No one saw, I didn't have my website up. I didn't have a big group. So I just want to, like, you know, inspire people to let you guys know you don't need all the bells and whistles and all those things. Of course, those things help. But, you know, the most important thing is you have to be passionate about really making a difference. You have to be really clear about the problem that, you know, you want to solve, that is meaningful to you. And what I would like to say is right now we are literally reeking with problems. That is the reality. People are going through overwhelm, or they're going through addiction issues, even far more now with the anxiety, or people are going through financial issues. People are going through, you know, overwhelm. They're going through, you know, challenges at home with homeschooling, you know, with their children. People are going, all sorts of struggles and frustrations right now are in the air. And this is a time for opportunity to find out what's that problem someone's facing that you have a gift for. Because what you find easy, someone is struggling with. Yes, what you take for granted, you might be a really good planner. You might be really just good with downloading, sourcing information, and people are struggling to find that clarity. And there you are, deep, giving me these guidance. And like in that moment, I'm like, duh, it makes sense. Like, you know, that kind of thing. So what do you find easy that, you know, someone, because guess what? Last week, 18 people decided to buy from me. And I'm saying this not to kind of like brag. What I'm trying to say is that people are buying, and people are, and you know, and people are buying. So people are willing to buy when you can tap into a pressing problem. Yes, when my tooth is kind of wobbling, I might not get bother getting a remedy. I'll be like, I'll be okay. But when my tooth is throbbing, I will find a way to pay for that tooth remedy. Yes. So what is throbbing right now in the world that you can see that people are going to do, willing to do anything? Go out there. You're not going to be an imposition to them if you are here to improve people's lives. Yes. Don't think you're being an imposition. You are here to improve people's lives. I had people saying to me, oh, thank you so much for getting in touch with me. I was just thinking that this would be something that I'd need help with. Or they said, oh my God, like I literally prayed for someone 2 days ago and now you've shown up. I'm like, she's like jumping, like, you know, so like, just know that you're here to do something great, and you have value to deliver. Know your value, because if you don't know your value, no one else will know your value. And, you know, I just think, you know, we've been through everything that we've been through for a reason, and now is the time to come out, and we need more change makers in the world right now more than ever. And that's why I'm so passionate, because I don't want any change maker to remain a best kept secret, because it just means that the change that could happen in the world, a little less change happens. And we need more of us out there making our difference. There are people literally waiting for our transformation. So I'd like to just leave it at that. And I just want you guys to know that if I can do it, you guys can do housebound. And, you know, we're gonna fly through this, and we're in this together. So let's just, you know, like, get involved and support each other to make this world a better place. There you go.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That was just absolutely so energizing and so exciting, and a roller coaster of emotions. And oh my God, that revelation of yours, like I was just like, where is this going? But you know what? It just goes to show that you reflecting on where it was and that it caught up with you. And it's so true. Life does catch up with us. But you know, there's so much in there. There was what you started off with as well. That's why I love your 4 O's. I thought something about orgasms was going to be in there, but it wasn't. But yes, opportunity, being open,
Well,
being
look,
optimistic.
there's going to be more. There's going to be more stuff. I want to leave the good stuff for the you know. We'll do
main
the
event.
O's on. We'll do the O's on stage.
Definitely, definitely. And what you're saying about not being in a flourishing environment, you know what? That's happened so many times to me at work, but also with my colleagues. I've had people, you know, being in an environment where they're like the toxic work people and toxic management, but again, they keep creating it because they keep seeing it, they moan about it, then they see more of it. And I'm like, you know, when there's a plant that's in the shade, a plant can't move itself and get into the sunlight and get what it needs and be in the nourishing environment. We're not plants. You know, that's good old saying, we're not a tree. Move. Do something different, you know, change the way you're doing something and get that sunlight, get those nutrients, get that water that you need, go where it is. But yeah, absolutely, such an insightful talk of yours. And I was just looking at the time and I was like, oh my God, I just wish I had another half an hour going. So guys, there's literally a minute remaining. So if you do have any questions, you can type them. There have been loads of comments coming up. One thing I do want to quickly say before the live ends is if anybody wants to be part of the live event, when we go ahead with it, when the data is secure and you'd like to share your success story, please get in touch with me. There are still a few slots available. So quickly running through some of the comments. Barbara had to leave, but fantastic Shamoni from BAL. Great talk, Shamoni, Jennifer. Well done, Shamoni. Beautiful energy and insights. I love my coach, Deep. Shamoni, thank you for humorous, high energy and much needed boost. And that's from Roger. Samit said, thank you all. Jenny's also saying, thank you, everyone. Lots of valuations taken, as always, valuable. So yeah, there's so much taken from your talk, Shamoni. It was just really, really inspirational, and clearly, you know, such a massive journey that you're going on. And you know what? I've seen that thread through all of our speakers today. We've all been through stuff and we're all going through things, but we keep fighting, we keep rising on top. I like the fact that you said about that you know, make shit up. It's true. You know what, one thing I've always gone by, be a bit deluded. I've been a bit deluded in my life. You know, I'd walk down the street and some people used to think, for like a big girl, like who's going to look at you, who's going to want to be with someone like you. I'd walk down thinking, when people are looking at me, oh, of course they're looking at me, obviously they're going to look at me, and I'd create it in my head because it really helped build up my confidence and my self-esteem. But there's some people I meet who are like 10 times more, look like a model in front of me, and they have insecurities. And I'm like, just tell yourself that everyone loves you, you know. And what you said about when you were 13, why ain't anybody going to give me a job?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just gotta assume. You just gotta assume people are gonna love you. Just gotta go in there thinking that they're gonna love you. That's it.
And yeah, and having that focus and just determination. And you know what? If you can do it from being bedbound and having your health conditions, like you said, there's no excuse for the rest of us. Absolutely no excuses. We have to make the most of what we can, and we've got to be part of that solution ourselves and know what we're offering people. And what you said about the value that we give people and the value we give ourselves, it's so important and it's so necessary. You know, we need to see that value of ourselves. I think life can beat us up sometimes and we lose that focus and that value that we have. And it touches on what Deep was saying about that inner voice that gets dampened and clouded. I feel like, you know how, again, I like using metaphors. Remember you and me were working together, Shimoni, and we were talking about how I like using metaphors a lot. But you know how we get pollution in the atmosphere, and all these like chemicals and things, and the air gets polluted, our minds get polluted with all the bullshit going on around us, with people's comments and people who are already, you know, they're not doing much in their own lives, and then they've got advice to give us when they're not even got any advice worth giving. And then on top of that, news, you know, magazines, culture, upbringing, you know, Angela touched on it, sometimes in certain cultures we're brought up with a certain mindset and stuff, and these things all become pollutant and grey our vision and our, you know, focus. Our inner voice gets dampened and we lose sight of who we are and what the core of who we are. And it's
our spirit more than anything. It dampens our spirit.
And I think this self-reflection period is, again, we make or break ourselves in this situation where we are being self-isolating now, being at home. Are we going to sit there and let these thoughts and let this news get into us and infiltrate us and pollute our minds more? Or are we going to sit there and start journaling, start talking about what's our strengths, actually, yet, like you said, up level yourself, upskill yourself? What is it? You know, when you were saying that, what came in my head, I like, so many people always say, I want to learn another language. And what you said about the self-help is so true. So many books I can now finally read. You know, what can you start doing? What can we start changing and stepping up? And it's up to us if we want to make this a very valuable time, or if you want to waste it and spoil our energy, you know. So on that note, any other oh, Roger's asking, is it worth asking everyone to put on the cameras and getting a photo before we finish? Yeah, that would be great. So I'm going to get myself into gallery view as well, and if everybody wants to put their cameras on, would be great, and I'll get a picture taken on my side. We've had a really good uptake today, so thank you so much for everybody who's joined in and taken value away. Jen's come on. Rish, let's get his.
I just realised
he's unmuted himself. Let's get his video. Anybody else want to share their videos and their beautiful faces? Can you see Rish's beautiful face?
No.
Orna,
today.
Vanita, Tanya.
Do I need to do something else as well?
Nope, that's it. I'm going to take a picture from here. And I'm just seeing if there's another page. Well, we had 2 pages before, but I think a lot of people have jumped off now because it's gone over 4:30. But I did take some pictures earlier on as well, but not everybody's pictures were up. But I think it's been absolutely fantastic. Hope you have all enjoyed. Again, anybody wants to talk at the main event as well, or wants to get involved in more things like this, drop me a line. We can always create something. We're in that mode now where we've got downtime and we can create things. Let's get creative, like Shimani was saying. So on that note, thank you for your patience of sitting through all of this. And, you know, I just wish we could talk until midnight if I had my own way. But we have all got stuff to do. We've got food to eat. I need to run to the loo. So I'm sure many of you are as well. So thank you so much and have a blessed day ahead. Keep yourselves positive. Keep yourself focused. And I hope you've made loads of notes from today. I have got it recorded, so I'll see what I can do with regards to if anybody wants a recording, just drop me a line. Okay? So on that note, take care. God bless. Bye.
Thank you, Suman. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, bye.
Take care, Roger. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Suman.
Thank you. Take care.